on you, being double team, multiple moves stacked into one. He's a play of pure domination. It's actual film. It's actual football talk. The football terms is what football, not steroids.
And what is up? You are listening to another edition of Blewett Blitz live. Kyle, not a lot to talk about today, right?
Nah, man, it's just one of those days. It's kind of just, just waiting for the draft. No news, kind of slow,
I've been putting out like 35 days until Darnold's gone, 34 days until Darnold's gone. Now I got to change it to like something like Fields versus Wilson debates over in 23 days from tomorrow. But yeah, a lot going on. This show, we're going to be talking about, obviously, Darnold getting traded, which just happened about an hour and a half ago. Recap the free agency signings, get some thoughts on that. Kyle, we can give some like overall grades if you're comfortable with that, or we can just talk. Your grade doesn't have to be so specific. B minus versus B plus. You don't have to go too crazy, but you can if you want to. We'll talk about some areas of need on team, where the Jets stand with their cap space right now, who else to sign, what positions of weakness that the Jets have, which everybody has been talking about, so you pretty much know it, but we'll kind of dive into it a little bit more deep. We'll talk about the pro days, the San Fran trade up to number 3. Talk about Fields versus Wilson. We're going to talk about a bunch of things, Kyle. So we have a lot on the docket. Maybe we'll do a mock draft at the end of the show because we apparently did not have a good one last time. We just got screwed with the system. We just really missed out on guards and free agency and stuff in the JetX simulator. But to promote Kyle, he's at Deal for Deshaun, which Kyle, are you changing that soon, or what's
yeah, I got to change it. See, Joe, you've had your Twitter handle for so long. So like it works for you, like Joe RB31, like people already know Joe RB31, but I gotta be honest, like if you made your Twitter handle, like now, like say you were just getting on Twitter, I would say that's a bad handle. Like having numbers. No, I'm saying even if that was your playing.
It's not number, like Joe B 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10.
Listen,
12.
Robbie will agree with me. You shouldn't have numbers in there. Ideally, it's not a great look. But for me, it's like, what am I going to change mine to? And it's hard for me because I got such a standard name, Kyle Smith. I mean, how many Kyle Smiths are there in the world? So I can't and I'm not going to put Kyle Smith NFL. I don't work for the NFL or anything like that. I think some of these guys that do that, it's like, that's a little weird. So yeah, I got to
do Kyle Smith NFL like everybody else who just puts NFL after their name. No.
So I got to think of something that's creative. I don't know what it'll be, but yeah, the Deshaun dream, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, I mean, I guess stranger things have happened, but it looks very unlikely. So yes, I'll change it at some point.
Yeah, I severely doubt it. But what's better, Kyle? Changing your name all the time or just sticking with the same name for 10 years? It is what it is. Maybe if you didn't cancel AFC Bros and you still did your freaking show. But no, Kyle Smith can't do a podcast anymore every week. It is what it is. The call-in number, if you do want to call in, we will be taking calls at least for a certain amount of time. If we do get some calls, we're going to have to keep them relatively short because there is a lot to talk about, obviously, tonight. Like I just recapped, 818-573-5427, 818-573-5427. We'll answer some questions in the chat. We'll also, I know some people are talking about us not always answering the chat, obviously with a ton of topics, callers, and the chat. You could always throw a super chat in there. If you throw a super chat in there, I will answer it no matter what. I'll probably stop what I'm doing to answer it. So we'd appreciate that. Helps the show out, helps JetX, helps everything out. So we'd appreciate that. Kyle, let's get into the most recent news, which honestly, like it's a talking point, but it's been talked about for so long in the last couple of months that we can kind of hit on it and just move past it. Like we've expected it for quite a while now. I know some Jets fans are not happy. I would say probably like 25% of Jets fans, it feels like maybe 30% of Jets fans are not very happy right now. But the Jets were obviously rumored to be taking a quarterback at 2 for quite a while. And then you have the whole San Fran thing, the trade up to 3, which we'll talk about in the future. And now people are sort of talking about the Jets maybe keeping Darnold. They can only get a late 3rd for Darnold, an early 4th. Maybe they'll be able to just keep him. And then today, like I said, about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, they traded him for a 2021 6th-round pick, a 2022 2nd, and a 4th, which at the beginning of this whole process, we were kind of saying like a 2nd and a 5th might seem pretty realistic, but to get a second, a fifth, and a sixth. Obviously, I know two of those picks, two of the first picks being in the next draft, which I'm completely okay with. It's not like the Jets trying to make the Super Bowl this year. I think they did really, really well on holding out. A lot of people are starting to panic a little bit about if the Jets waited too long, but I think they got really good value for a quarterback that they needed to move on from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, dude, I was just so at the point that I was so ready to move on to him. If they honestly got like a fourth for him, I would have been like pretty okay. I mean, I thought they could have got more, but I would have been okay with that. I just was so ready to move on from him. But yeah, I did not expect this type of return. I know that Schefter was, saying, I think it'll be a first. I think it'll be first when all is said and done. But I didn't think it would be this type of haul. And, would it have been great to get a second from Carolina this year? Because they do have a very early second. Yeah, it would have been great, but it didn't happen. But the thing is, what's cool about it is now they got picks. They got a lot of picks in this year's draft. They had a good amount last year, and they're also going to have a good amount this year. And there's so much projection that comes from the draft in transitioning, how a college player is going to play versus how they're going to play in the NFL. Are they going to fit into this scheme? You do miss on a lot of draft players. So it is more, the analogy that people use is more throws at the dartboard, so to speak. So it's nice to have that in a draft. And if you look at Joe Douglas's draft approach in that regard, it's very, very different from, McCagnon, certainly Mike Tannenbaum. Tannenbaum had that one draft where he only had 3 picks. Idzik did have 14 or something like that one year, but
no, Idzik 13.
It was 13. Okay. But there were, by and large, it was a very bad draft class. I mean, Sheldon Richardson ended up being a pretty good player.
I was there for that first round that year.
So was I. Yeah, we keep talking. We've talked about that many times. So I'm pretty much a fan of what Joe Douglas has done so far. I said this when talking to Scott Mason. If he did choose to keep Darnold, in my mind, that would have been a borderline fireable offense. But he didn't, and I maintained I did not think he was possibly that stupid, even though there was the paranoid, black-pilled Jets fan that thought, oh, shoot, man, the same old Jets. Part of your brain, when you see this team and how bad they've been, part of your brain thinks, man, we might keep him, man. We might keep him.
Yeah, there's always that doubt.
But I never really thought that Joe Douglas could possibly be that stupid and Robert Saleh that stupid. And thankfully he wasn't, so.
Yeah, and with the picks, like you said, it kind of balances out the picks they have in the next couple of years. And next year, being off the top of my head again, hopefully I could do it. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, a fourth, 2 fifths, 3 sixths next year. I'm hoping they package up some of those later round picks and maybe move up a little bit in some spots that they like guys. Yeah, but overall, and with this draft too, a lot of people talk about it months and months ago, not recently, because everybody's getting hyped up and thinks they really know the prospects. But next year too, like I said, now you even out the picks, and now next year you have the pro days, you have the combine, you have all the medical checks, you have more interviews. So you're going to have even more knowledge next year of these prospects. So, do I want it to be a second and a fourth this year so I can go into the mock draft simulators and use all those picks this year? Yeah, but next year when we're able to do it, we'll be fine. So I'm fine with that trade compensation. And listen, I would have really doubted Joe Douglas too, Kyle, because we watch the film, we break down the film. That's what the show is about for the most part. This channel is about for the most part. And watching Darnold, he just didn't have it. And it wasn't the fact that Darnold does not have any chance to rebound, which I think is a pretty low chance. And people bring up Tannehill. Tannehill was like that 18th to 20th best quarterback in the NFL. Then he rebounded to top 10-ish. I think he's a little bit overhyped by people, to be completely honest, but maybe 10, 12. So he took like a 10-spot jump. Darnold was a 33rd ranked quarterback last year. And if you want to argue, okay, with better coaching, he might have been 28th. Okay, 28th, 27th. Let's give him 25th. Be really freaking, really generous. Then he jumps up to 15th best quarterback in the league. Is that good enough to win an NFL nowadays on a second contract? We discussed it many times. No, it's not. The guys who win their second contract, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, those are the guys who win. Ben Roethlisberger. So is Darnold could he take that jump? I don't think so. 30 spots? I severely doubt it. So it was time to get rid of him. I saw in the chat, Kyle, that somebody, I think it's Elias, said that you have the best Twitter game.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I would like to argue that because Kyle isn't on Twitter enough. So I think Kyle has to step up his game personally, and I think he needs to change his handle too. So I'm gonna come back.
The handle will be changed. I saw someone put in there "woke for Wilson,"
No, you're not woke.
No, no.
Don't do that, please.
No, I won't. But I'm just saying thank you for suggestions.
Lots of glare. I'll try to fix. I'll fix that in a second. What is it called? So Kyle, let's get into any other thoughts about Sam Darnold? And obviously, like you said, we both agree that the trade conversation is good. If the Jets were to, what would you think like initially about the whole thing that was going on like the last couple of days where it was draft Zach Wilson, keep Sam Darnold. But I'm going to fix that light.
So to keep with Wilson, and you can go fix your light because I could talk about Darnold forever. So since the last live stream with Joe, I wrote an article about Sam Darnold, and I titled it based on things that I've been saying for a while now. Have you taken the Sam Darnold blue pill is what I titled it. And I wrote it for Scott Mason's website because, he reached out and said, hey, would you like to do something? I said, yeah, sure, whatever. And it ended up turning into like 4,000 something words. And I put so many links in there about, different things from film that I've seen over the years. And I tried to be fair. I tried to be as fair as I possibly could. I put in there throws like that 49ers throw that everybody, including Louis Riddick and everybody else saying, oh, look at what Darnold can do. And you know what's funny, Joe, and I hope you can hear me, is people tried saying that Sam Darnold throw from the 49ers game was the same or better because it was in an actual game versus the Wilson throw that we saw at his pro day. And let me just comment on that because I didn't really see people talking about this. If they were talking about it, I didn't see it. Yes, the Darnold throw was in a game. Although it was garbage time, it wasn't a game. So in that sense, it's very different from the Wilson throw. But I don't know if you have that Wilson throw on cue that you could pull up, Joe. But he's not just rolling he's rolling to his left. He corks it across his body and throws it to the right. Like, wow. Like it's way different when you see the trajectory of how far the ball traveled and how much it arced. Like, I know Sam Darnold's ball also went to the right as well, but the angle at which Wilson threw his was much more difficult. So it wasn't the same throw. And by the way, and the people who were saying that Justin Fields did the same throw at his pro day too.
He was rolling to the left, throwing to the left.
Rolling to the left, throwing to the left. So it's way different in that regard. So I'll put the link to that article in the chat right here. If anybody is willing to read it, which I don't know why you'd want to at this point, because Darnold's not even here. But if you know Panthers fans, that are really, hyped about the Darnold trade, I don't know why you would be. Maybe you'd want to send it to them. But listen, I don't wish Darnold any will. I mean, like, I know a lot of people are saying I wish him a lot of success in Carolina. Listen, he's already been paid a lot, so I don't know that I'm wishing for him to succeed, but I'm also not rooting for him to fail. Like, I don't have any personal vendetta against him. I just wanted him off my football team. But at the same time, we gave a high pick with him and he still sucked. So like, do I have to root for him per se? I mean, I know a lot of us kind of want to do because he is a nice guy, but I don't know, like, in that, if that were true, I'd have to root for like every player in the league that's a quote unquote nice guy. Kirk Cousins is a nice guy.
I'll root for Sam Darnold. And sorry, I try to fix the light, but the light bulbs were hot as shit. So I was going to screw on the one behind it. It didn't shine on me. I'll do that later, but I almost burned the shit out of my hand. So that'll come on later because it's going to get dark. But the thing, and I try to search like Zach Wilson throw on Twitter, but there's like 1,000 tweets about Zach Wilson's throw. So it's like hard to actually find the video. And there's a lot of people trying to recreate it apparently, which is like a phenomenon. I can't say that word. Jesus, that is being recreated. But, yeah, one of the throw is different than Fields because he's rolling to the left, throwing across his body to the opposite hash. Fields' throw was great too. Like,
yeah, it was. No doubt, it's a great throw.
People trying to say it was the same throw. It's not the same throw, but regardless, who cares? Like, you saw that on film from both of them anyway. So I don't really know why that created so much hype. Probably for the people who were only watching like YouTube highlights and stuff. But the pro day was about the measurables for him too, which we'll get into down the line. But with Darnold, I'll root for him. But let's say in 2023, when the Jets don't have the Panthers picks, like that's when I'll root for him. I want him to succeed though, like after 2022. But the problem with that is then you have a bunch of Jets fans who will consistently be on that bandwagon, which will just annoy the crap out of me. So maybe I don't, maybe I do. I don't know. I said all things being equal, me not having Twitter or social media doing shows, I would say I want him to do well after 2022. But let's move on because we've talked about it so much.
Sure.
Free agency. I don't know if these are in. I don't think these are in order, Kyle, of the signings. They might be, but I don't think so. Or they might be actually. Let's grade them. Let's give out some initial thoughts on these guys. We can pull up the contracts on Spot Track or something like that if you want me to. But Jared Davis was the first signing. You just watched the episode I did on him, which, by the way, I have that episode up. Do the film reviews. I think I had like 43 plays on Davis. What's your letter grade for that? What are your thoughts? It's kind of like a similar. It's pretty similar to the George Fant signing. I said that, whereas like everybody's like waiting for that first name. Big guys are going off the board. Jets get Jared Davis. Everybody's like, who the hell is that? And then you Google him and you're like, people are disappointed. And I thought it was gonna be a guy that I would look at and be like, okay, similar to George Fant. People are not happy with the name. They don't really know the name, but his film kind of proves otherwise, that he could be a decent player with the Jets. But kind of throwing it to you first. What are your thoughts?
Okay. Let me preface it. And I know that you want to do this and people like doing this and stuff. So I'm a teacher for, full disclosure, anyone. And the part I dislike most about my job is grading. And it's kind of weird. Always finding like, you get some kids who are really smart and stuff, but sometimes they just don't turn in enough work as other kids, and other kids get a better grade. So grading is kind of one of these things that like I always feel like a little strange about. But anyway, especially it's harder when you haven't really watched someone in depth too. But I did watch your thing on Gerard Davis, and I really look forward to you putting out more of these film reviews. I guess I would vary somewhere between like a C+ and a B-, just because it's just a 1-year deal. So if he sucks this year, you can move on from him. And you do see some traits. Joe, please pull up the play if it's not trouble for you. The one play that you were raving about, I think it was against the Packers. I think he chases down Aaron Jones horizontally. You just see sick acceleration on that play, right? Like regardless, I don't know where he would rank in linebacker ranks across the league, but he does have some gifts that just most linebackers in the league don't have. So you think Robert Saleh is the head coach, right? Robert Saleh has developed linebackers such as Bobby Wagner with the Seahawks. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul Posluszny, who was kind of middling, and this is why the Bills let him walk in free agency. But when he got to Jacksonville, he became a pretty good linebacker. And you'd like to think that if his tenure overlapped with Robert Saleh helped develop him too. So, if the Jets use him right and you put him in a position where he doesn't have to think too much, might they strike some gold? Maybe. Mm-hmm. So, but it's hard. It would be hard for me to rank it anything above a B-, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to find that play, that the one you're talking about, the secondary acceleration thing. I don't know why it's not labeled in my computer's app, but I'm not going to pull it up now because I don't know where the hell it is. But
that's fine.
Go and watch the review anyway. So you're going to see it.
JetsXFactor.com.
Yeah, I said a C+, just overall with him. Apparently Super Chat is now enabled. We had some issues with it, but if you want to throw those in there, you can do that now. But yeah, with him, I give it a C+. That was like my letter grade. If I had to put a letter grade to it, again, grading is kind of hard. My thing with Davis is, again, you're seeing him with the Lions more as like a 3-4 backer, more read and react instead of kind of just take responsibility for a gap, take responsibility for a guy in man coverage, take responsibility for more of a simple zone. He was doing more thinking with the Lions rather than what I just said. And I think the Jets will try to use him in that way. And again, with guys that the Jets, specifically Saleh and Ulbrich, have developed, like you said, Posluszny and Deion Jones and all these guys over the years, or even being with the Seahawks with guys like Bobby Wagner and all that, like with Saleh. So they developed linebackers, so I want to trust them to do what's right for him. And again, I think he could play Will or Sam. I think a lot of people are saying he could just play Sam. I don't think that's true. I think he could play Will too, because there's a little bit less thinking as a Will. More of a run and chase guy instead of a really diagnosed guy, where as a Sam, he's going to have to be diagnosing a little bit more because there's going to be more thrown at him. Whereas a Will, he's going to be more patient on the backside. So now he has to kind of be a little more patient than he's shown. I think he could play in man coverage pretty well. That's for sure. I think in a Tampa role, he could play well. some, again, shorter coverages, not like hook the curls, nothing too overly complex, but maybe in like a cover 3, getting that exit angle to the curl to flat. I think that's good. You know, you have the sideline as a defender and there's not as much going on around you. So I think he could do some things for the Jets that are positive. Blitz, if the Jets do send 5 guys, if they do send like an NCAA blitz, I think he's one of those guys who will be on that blitz because he's super aggressive. Is not afraid to put his head down. So there are ways you can use him. And I do agree that he wasn't used correctly with the Lions. But Kyle, you have a question, so go ahead. What are you going to
say? The interesting thing, and it just popped in my mind, although I don't know, it should have occurred to me earlier, is you might have even said this in your review. His skill set is very different from Mosley's. So it is interesting to have contrasting people. Like, you know, obviously, of course, every now and then you want to send Mosley on a blitz just because you want to fool the other team, but it's not something you want to see Mosley doing often because
he's not a good blitzer.
For whatever reason, he's not good with it, but this guy can. But Mosley, on the other hand, Mosley might not be a sick athlete. Like, he's a good athlete, but he's not a sick athlete. But he just understands route combinations from film study. And the thing about Mosley is, you know, I don't know what Mosley would score on a Wonderlic or how well, you know, he did in his college class. I don't know, like, if he's like, you know, brilliant, genius, IQ type of smart, but he's just got these football instincts, which you just can't teach to some people. Like, there's this kid who he was one of the captains for my high school football team named Troy Russell. And he was like 6'3", like 185, 190. He was really skinny, to be honest. He wasn't fast. He was kind of slow, but he just had football instincts. Like, he knew when to punch a ball out. He knew the team's tendencies. He just had a feel for the game, which some people just don't have. And that's what Mosley has.
Yeah.
Davis doesn't have this. And it's something I texted you, Joe. So Robert Saleh talked, and I don't like to listen to a lot of coach press conferences because you don't really say anything, but it's a new coach. So I listened to, you know, a lot of Saleh's initial interviews and stuff. And one thing, you could hear this when he was doing his Jets press conferences. And I also listened to a couple of his San Francisco press conferences before he left there. And he said, my whole thing is about getting players to play as fast as they possibly can. And if you want players to play as fast as they possibly can, you got to have them not thinking so much. So with a player like this, a player like this, who that's not really his game, but he does have the speed and the athleticism component to his game. You're going to want to put him in a type of role where he doesn't have to think. He doesn't have to diagnose too much. You definitely don't want him calling calls out there. Right? You don't want to put the microphone in his helmet. No. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. So here was my question to you. Could you think of like any player throughout the league that plays like a Will or a Sam role that doesn't have to do too much thinking, can just kind of be responsible for one gap and try to make some type of comparison for that role that you'd like to see Davis in?
Honestly, like we talked about it before, we don't like to just kind of throw stuff out there and not watching enough people's other film. Like, do I know the perfect comparison? I don't. Are there roles like that out there? Yes. Do I know who would be exactly who fit that role, like in their defense? No, not necessarily. Like, I can't just give you one guy who does that type of thing. But yeah, with Davis, again, it's an interesting fit. He has the athleticism, he has the speed. Obviously, we know that Saleh likes speed in his linebackers. Let's move on to the next guy, though, because we have a ton to talk about. Obviously, people talk about the linebackers who is still a need. Linebacker is a need. We've said that, and we'll go over that a little bit. But Saleh, a guy who likes to keep 3 linebackers on the field. Again, Kyle, we've talked about people. I think too quickly transition into it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter about 3-4. It doesn't matter about 4-3. It's always nickel. Like, even if it's nickel, do you have 3 guys down? Do you have 4 guys down? Do you have 2 linebackers in the field? Do you have 1 linebacker in the field? There's a bunch of different sets, but Saleh is a guy who, based on my film study of watching him, I didn't watch his entire season, but I watched it enough. He likes to keep linebackers on the field, even versus lighter personnel sets. I've seen it versus 11 a lot. I've seen a lot versus 10 at times. So he likes linebackers on the field, ideally. So you want linebackers who can run, who can chase, who can get into coverage, who can play maybe some man coverage, some combo coverage, whatever it is. And Davis can do that. So that's a positive. Mosley, like you said, I think, you know, obviously there's concern. He's 29. He hasn't played in 2 seasons, but Mosley was never a guy who thrived on athleticism. He thrived on the mental part of the game. So I think if he comes back and he's just kind of decent with his athleticism still, which I think he will be. I don't think he's going to be completely out of shape and a shitbag after 2 years, not in the NFL. Like, I think he's still a professional athlete. I think he'll be fine. I still think he'll be a top 10-ish inside linebacker. I do have that faith in Mosley because I really, really like his game. but now they need to address another linebacker, whether it be more of a guy like a KJ Wright who will only play Sam, and then you have Davis always as a will, or maybe you get more of a run and chase guy who's going to be the will, and then Davis is more of the Sam consistently. So, but with that being said, I do still think linebacker is a very, very big need. And looking at free agency, there were some guys, like Morrow and like Jayon Brown, who were out there who I really wanted, who got some low contracts. So I would say the lack of attention at the other linebacker spot in free agency was a little bit of a knock on Douglas. Like, I don't think everything was perfect that he did, but there were some guys out there who I really liked who got even lesser contracts than Davis, but they have plenty of room still to address that. There's still some guys out there. They have the draft. There's some guys people are talking about.
The concerning thing for me is the offensive line, because all they signed on the offensive line, if I'm not mistaken, is Feeney.
Yeah,
he sucks.
So we're going to get into that because I want to get into a conversation about like who people were talking about a little bit as well. Next signing, though, I think this is in order. It might not be again. Corey Davis, letter grade, and then some brief thoughts. And I know you're a guy who likes to preface it by saying I did not watch this much on him, but you have enough general knowledge of a guy. So
yeah, so Corey Davis, I mean, let's not forget he was drafted 5th overall. He is a talented dude. He's pretty big, 6'3", 210, solid, plays big. A lot of people really, really loved him. And for whatever reason, he just, I guess injuries had something to do with it. Shitty quarterback play for the first couple of years of his tenure in Tennessee. We didn't really start to see him thrive until, kind of last year and even the year before that. But I think because he's young, his best days are ahead of him. So I'd probably put this at I almost want to say a B+, just because when you free agency is a needs-based approach, right? Draft is you take generally the best players available. You're not looking to fill. So free agency is not that. So the Jets really need receivers, really. So to go out and get a pretty big name guy who seems to be a good scheme fit. And I thought that they got him for a really reasonable contract, to be honest.
If he's getting $12 million a year, a little bit over $12 million a year, and I think it's like $27 million guaranteed, so they can save up like $10 million cutting him that last year. I think like a little bit of dead cap again. We can pull that contract up, but it's right around that. If he's getting that, and you have Nelson Aguilar, who's getting $13 million a year, I think it's a pretty good contract. So yeah, I would say he's a lot better than Nelson Aguilar.
And this was on the first day, so it's not even like, they had to it's not even like Corey Davis probably drastically reduced his asking price because he just wasn't getting the mark. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. But dude, I think he's going to be fun, man. You're going to see him, just running tons of drags, tons of digs, and over the middle of the field. And I think he's just going to bully some guys and get some yak and stuff. And it's going to be fun, but I'm really looking into your deep film dive. Listen, I didn't play wide receiver when I was in high school. I didn't play corner. Joe did. In my opinion, Joe's best things at breaking down is receiver and defensive back play, especially cornerbacks. In my opinion, that's what you're best at, Joe. And I think you'd agree with that. So I'm really anticipating watching your film analysis with the great Marcus Coleman as well, before I really have a really firm opinion on Davis, because I've only watched a little bit myself.
Yeah, I think I'm recording that show actually tomorrow night. It'll probably be released on Wednesday, hopefully with Davis. I give it the same exact grade, so we're pretty close on grades. You said B-, C+ for Davis. I gave it a C+. Corey Davis, you said B+.
Yes.
Don't confuse the Davises. You said B+. I got a B+ on my computer right now. I agree. So my thing with him is I want to see who's going to be the X in this offense, because I don't think Davis is a great X. Didn't really see him win too much vertically. I think he could, but I didn't really see a ton of it. There's a difference on winning contested balls over the middle and winning contested balls deep. So I wonder who's going to be that X. Mims could be. I think he's better at winning deep, but he also had some issues last year of getting off the press, which is really important for an X receiver. So I'm interested to see the fit. Obviously, great blocker, important for the outside zone, especially for a team who might be running outside zone, obviously a lot. I think people might overstate that a little bit too much based on the outside zone, because Packers, who are obviously have a connection LaFleur to LaFleur, run more inside zone. They run both as well, but it is inside zone heavy as well. So you might have 11 personnel on the field, because that's the Jets' best skill set right now. You have Davis, you have Crowder, you have Mims, you have Cole. So they might be running a little bit more 11 personnel, which puts even more emphasis on receiver blocking. So that's great to get Davis. I think, in my opinion, he's a low end 1, high end 2. I don't think he's like a legit number 1. There are some weaknesses in his game that I see, but overall, to me, he's like a really solid receiver, but a master of none with not a lot of weaknesses. Like, he's good at everything, but just not great at any one thing.
What would you say his greatest strength is?
His greatest strength, in my opinion, is his route running on out breaks and in breaks. I think there's some struggles that he has in terms of cutting when it's breaking back to the quarterback, but there's a reason he was used a lot on like those crossing routes, obviously with the play action and the outside zone and all that. He was used on it regardless, but he really thrived in that system because he's really good at setting up angles using his hands and his route running. So I would say his route running overall is really, really good. I think some things are overhyped about him. People talk about him as like an elite blocker. I think he's a willing blocker and he's a big body, so that's a good thing. But in terms of like him stalk blocking, closing ground, getting angles, he's okay.
How's his blocking stack up to Mims blocking?
Relatively similar. I would say Mims at his peak is better than Davis. I would say even Cole, who's not as big as Davis in terms of technically wise, is as a better blocker technically wise than a Davis. Davis is a good blocker, but he's not elite. Like, he's gonna have a mental lapse or two, but at the same time, they also use Davis as an H-back. They used him in the box. Like, they used him as an insert on ISO. Like, he was blocking DNs and linebackers. So am I being a little bit too harsh? Maybe, but that's kind of what we're here to do. But yeah, Davis is, again, I'm doing the show. I did a show with Scott Mason about him. Contested catchability over the middle, the route running, the subtle ways he uses his hands, his releases, his frame, his ability to extend to the ball. It's all there. Again, there's not a lot of weaknesses with him. It's just, again, a master of none type deal. A lot of people are talking about the draft. We'll get into the draft in a little bit as well. We're doing a little bit of a mock draft. Probably, I don't know what we're going to use because I don't do the whole offseason. Maybe we'll use like PFN. We didn't use PF. I think PFN has a pretty good thing with trades and stuff like that we can discuss. So B+, we're on the same page. The next signing that the Jets made, which was everybody after Davis was signed. It was like the first day Davis was signed. Nobody was signed for the rest of the day. People were panicking on Twitter, panicking. And then they signed Carl Lawson. What's your letter grade for that? What are your thoughts? I'm not sure if you watched a film review on that one. I'm sure you.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. But
yeah, all three something hours of it.
Yeah.
I'm vacillating between a B+ and an A- right now because A- seems a little high when you factor in Carl Lawson's injury history. So I guess I'll go with a B+. This was my favorite signing though. So, I mean, everybody's already said it. It's kind of tired, but I mean, come on. It's so obvious. The Jets have had no pass rushers that can win off the edge since John Abraham. I mean, just haven't. They've had tons of good defensive linemen, tons, but they've never had a guy who could straight up win off the edge. Now they finally have a guy. If he stays healthy, hopefully we haven't even seen the best of him yet. I don't think we have. And my tweet after I saw the signing was, he is a fucking savage. And he is.
Yeah.
And I knew this before, really doing the deep dive and watching your thing, but just even watching it more, he just destroys people, man. Mm-hmm. Not the biggest dude in the world. He's like, what, 6'2", 260-ish, which is, I mean, but like he's solid, but when you want to talk about speed to power, mm-hmm. like Khalil Mack, and he's not, as big overall as Khalil Mack, but they win in some similar ways. And he's not as refined. He's not as good in the run game as Khalil Mack. And this is why Khalil Mack's elite.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to interrupt you because I think it was funny that somebody, I think it's like one of the Bengals beat reporters or like their like website guy. I forget what he was on, or maybe if he tweeted it out or whatever, but he said that Lawson only wins with speed right now. And he needs to work on the rest of his game. He's only a speed rusher. I was like, what? He uses
his speed and converts it into power. And here's the thing. So you pointed out, and I found it fascinating that when you were watching, you're like, I'm just going to take a guess. He doesn't have long arms. I would have looked at his measurables before I started watching the film. So I just found that funny, but you're like, he's got like maybe 32.5-inch arms, and that's what he does have. So he does have short arms, but he uses that long arm all the time. And the thing about using the long arm is when one arm is longer than two, you can extend it further because he has that short length, that's the way that he kind of, negates that fact. So, he doesn't have a super wide arsenal of moves, but he's very
the
good.
Same moves a lot. Yeah.
He's very good at what he does. You'd like to think, and hopefully with some good coaching, maybe he can throw in a couple of counters and then really take his game to the next level. We'll see though. But yeah, this was my favorite signing.
Yeah. Speed to power. He has a spin move. He has the cross chop. He has the chop. He has the bull rush. He has the long arm. So I would argue, I would say, I think the correct way to say that, Kyle, is that he has a wide arsenal of moves. He just needs to use that wide arsenal more often. Like he relies too often on the long arms or stab with that chop. And I also argue that, and I think it got better during the later portion of the year last year, is that his chop sometimes is a little bit too shallow. It comes from too shallow of an angle where he really gives himself like a tiny window to defeat that outside punch of tackles. And towards the end of the year, it seems like he was raising a little bit more high, aimed at the better point, which obviously with the chop, you want to aim at the elbow, the midpoint of the arm. And he was kind of at first aiming towards the wrist with his wrist. So he had a short area for it to be effective and a short like contact area for it to be effective. And he started to kind of change that, and it was more effective. He was also more patient with it towards the end of the year. So I want to see that, kind of hammered out with him. I want to see a little bit more in terms of his variety used, not just the stab and the long arm consistently. But overall, you're getting the best Jets edge rusher you've had since Sean Abraham. I don't give a shit about the 5.5 sacks. Watch the film. How many times in that film breakdown, Kyle, was he there in 2.5 seconds? I was like, ball is out. Oh, look, ball is out. Oh, look, ball is out. Or, oh, look, quarterback stepped up. Oh, look, quarterback stepped up. Listen, quarterback steps up in this, and we'll talk about the signings in a little bit, but Carl Lawson rushing from the edge, and then you got Rankins, John Franklin Myers, and Quinton Williams rushing from the inside to the outside. Where's he stepping up to? You're not stepping up versus Rankins and Q. You're just not, at least consistently. So I give this an A- grade. Again, the injuries are, a slight concern with him, but overall, I think if you give it an A, he's a elite edge rusher based on film, based on the pressures, the hits. What are you gonna say?
But what was Cincinnati thinking, letting him go to give a similar contract to?
I think it's like less guaranteed money, so they can get out of it quicker, which makes no sense. The Bengals, the fact, like, listen, and you talk about like the letter grade for the signing too, is like. And I tweeted out, or I think I said in maybe Slack, I know if Sable can back me up. I said I would be happy with Trey Henderson, like $10-ish million a year. But you look at Trey Henderson's sacks, what were they?
They were Henry Anderson sacks.
Quarterback hold the ball for 4, 5, 6 seconds and stunts. Like it was never like winning one-on-one. So I was like not very high on Henderson. But then you also see guys out there like, Bud Dupree and all these guys, and like Lawson in terms of just pure edge rushing is the best out of all those guys. Now, is he elite in the run game? No, not in my opinion. I think he's average in the run game. His short arms are not like key things for success in the run game. You have to stack guys with 2 arms. You can't really long arm guys consistently in the run game. So he's okay in the run game, but regardless of numbers, again, I don't care about them. Don't put them out there. He's an elite edge rusher. Again, with better people around him, quarterbacks are not going to be able to step up. Now, does he need to finish sacks more? Yes. But is it overstated a little bit? Yes, at the same time, because again, guys stepping up, getting away from him. He does have a short tackle radius though, because of his short arms. But overall, A- for me. I really like that. Now, next guy they signed, considering the contract too, we had like it's like $1.7 million for 1 year. You have to take that into effect. Justin Hardy, what do you give that, and what do you think about it?
Justin Hart, dude, I have no clue. I didn't watch any of him. I didn't even know they signed. You talking about the special teams guy, right?
Yeah, that's his name. No, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. Now I remember. Now I didn't watch any of them. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't, other than like maybe seeing one highlight that someone posted on Twitter or something like that. I don't know much about him. Hey, listen, special teams is a component of the game. If he's a good special teams player and he's getting, really low money, I'm all for it. I don't care. I mean, C+, I guess. I don't know.
I gave it an A-, to be honest. And again, I want to watch more stuff on him. I just think for the money he got and considered like all the numbers out there.
What is he, a gunner? What does he play?
He
doesn't return, right?
No, he doesn't return. He literally just goes and gets the ball. So again, for the signing that he got, especially with like the locker room presence that he is, like everybody from the Saints was like, oh, he's the best guy in the locker room. Saints players were out there tweeting all the time. Is like a firm A-. Like, would I like to watch a little bit more? Yeah, maybe. Am I great at breaking down special teams? I never really tried it, so I don't think so. But overall, I give it an A-. It's a great special teams guy, one of the highly regarded, most highly regarded guys in the league. And you got a guy for Boyer because listen, the Jets special teams coverage units really struggled last year, and now you got one of the best special teams coverage guys in the league. A-. Small contract, it is what it is. Now,
what was the actual numbers?
I think it's like 1.7 million. Something in the chat will be able to pull it up quicker than I can because I don't want to have.
What's his age?
Have 1,000 windows open. 27, 28.
Okay.
I think. Again, somebody in the chat dropped that. I don't looking it up.
Well, let's just say this, and to an extent, this might be a little teensy-weensy bit overrated, but listen, Joe Douglas preached since he took the job with the Jets that we're going to try to build the best, football sports culture in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And to his credit, he's really tried to do that. If you think pretty much any GM that the Jets have had, they've always were willing to sign guys with questionable character and stuff. Like if you think of Dylan Donahue, or if you think of what was the guy that we signed from the Raiders, that one running back he had those
Goodson.
Mike Goodson or whatever the hell his name was. If you think of what the Tannenbaum signed, that cornerback, Dimitri Patterson from the Dolphins,
mm-hmm.
who went AWOL. Like if you look at any GM, they've always been willing to sign these guys with questionable character issues. I don't really think has Douglas signed anybody who's been a borderline, even though people have been clamoring for it. Oh, sign Antonio Brown. We got to help Darnold out. Darnold, Joe Douglas is like, yeah, we're not even looking into that.
Well, that's those guys out there like Juju and stuff. Like I just really doubted. Somebody put in the chat 3 years, 5.25 million, $1 million guaranteed. So again, you're paying a guy like a little bit over $1.5 million. It's like $1.7 million, basically a little bit over. For a guy who people in the chat are correct. He's a culture fit, and that's what the Jets want. I'm completely cool with it. Again, considering special teams, I'm not going to say it's a third of the game. It's probably like 1/10 of the game, but 1/10 is still 10%. Like that's enough to make an impact. So you have a guy who's elite on special teams coverage units. I'm okay with it. I give it an A-. Next signing, and this is kind of to round out the receiving core, at least for now. And then I want to get your overall thoughts on where the Jets kind of stand at receiver, and your thoughts on the receiving core. Keenan Cole, what do you think about that signing? Or Keelan Cole, sorry.
Yeah, so I haven't done a deep dive yet, but I've seen some of his plays throughout the days and age, and it was such a cheap contract that you see some kind of upside there. And as a fourth receiver, you'll take that. You'll take that any day. So I was pretty high on that. I like that signing. For me, and I've saying this for months now, the Jets need to focus on offense more than defense.
Mm-hmm.
Now with Carl Lawson, they actually saw like a real legit talent hit free agency. So they were willing to spend the big bucks, and it filled a position of need. So I fully supported that. But, when you look at signing 2 wide receivers, listen, we need to help this young quarterback out. So I really like that. I'll give the Cole a solid B.
I give it an A.
Okay.
This is another one I like a lot. I just got into his film. I think the first 2 or 3 games as a number 4, considering consistency, like on the field. I know last year he had 55 catches, 700 yards or 650 yards, whatever it was, around 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. Again, early into it, the film is good. Really, really consistent. Again, another guy who can block, a guy who can make contested catches, a guy who could play Z, he could play X. Wouldn't really necessarily want him playing X all the time. Can play in the slot. I think it's a versatile guy who can fit into any role. And that's great for a backup. And now you're looking at, the 4th guy in the Jets instead of, being Keelan Cole, who is, I think, a decent slot receiver, starter. I think, again, he could play anywhere, but I think he's a decent number 3 receiver. You now have him at 4, backing up everybody. I'm a big fan. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of the more underrated signings that's going around right now. That's not being.
So tell me, yeah, because we're not hearing much. So tell me what you like about his game. Give me some specifics.
So some of the strengths I have listed right now. Again, I'm really early into it, so I like to look at it more and delete things or not. But right now I have consistent hands blocking, health all around weapon, contested catches, fluid catch radius, sits in soft spots, boxes out DB for size, willing blocker, skip release. Quick get on cornerback's toes, acceleration. He short strides guys. He's a patient route runner. Good at getting open on scramble drills, finds open lanes. in terms of yak. Good at getting on toes. Secondary releases. His secondary releases are really, really nice with like skip releases, hop steps, foot fires, motors, whatever you want to call them. Tracks ball well, sideline awareness, altering speeds and routes, and then overall route running are some of the strengths I have right now for him.
Wow.
So I like him.
Sounds like we got a steal.
I'm a fan. And like you said, the receiver stuff.
And I'm so glad they didn't get rid of Crowder too.
Yeah, man. Listen again, and your overall thoughts on the Jets receiving core, because last year, now you're looking at Cole as the fourth, which I had to turn the light on. Now it's starting to get dark. It's last year you had guys like Lawrence Cager and Hogan like starting games for the Jets and Jeff Smith. Now you have Keelan Cole, who is your fourth receiver, and Crowder in the slot. Mims, Davis. Like overall, do they have that legit number one Julio Jones guy? No, but do they have depth, and do they have a solid core of four guys, which you might be added on a fifth guy, coming this April, end of April. I think the receiving core is solid. Is it great? No. I would say it's above average right now. I don't think I'm hyping it up like crazy. I think people are overlooking what Mims did just with Joe Flacco. Look what Perryman did with Joe Flacco. But I think with better quarterback play, with a better system, with Adam Gase not running 30-yard concepts on 3rd and 5. I think Mims will be a lot better. So you're looking at Mims who, listen, and do I think this is a little bit too much hype? Yes, but did Marcus Coleman, who played defensive back in the NFL for 11 years, see like a Julio Jones type player? Yes, at his ceiling. Now, will he reach that? I don't know. I compared him to AJ Green coming out, but I think that Mims could be a number one. I legitimately do. Last year, you're looking at no offseason.
He has a higher upside than Corey Davis. That's no
offseason, no preseason. He missed multiple games. He was playing with a bad offense with a bad quarterback. So I think Mims could be a number one. And even if on the lower end, he's a low end number, or he's a 2. You have two great 2s, a top 10 slot receiver, and I would argue a really good fourth receiver. And Cole. I don't know many fourth receivers who are much better than Cole. So I think Cole is a really good depth guy. And
I'm of the opinion too that if you have a solid line and a great quarterback play, great coaching, you don't need a true elite number one. Like, look at what Tom Brady was thrown to for so many years. How many Super Bowls does that guy have? Now, granted, he had a lot of other things around. So, We got a super chat, Joe.
Oh, that's
Zach
the newest
Fifth
one, right?
Ave. The new era begins. Joe Douglas setting up our future the right way. Oh, so I think he just wanted to comment. So thank you, Sir Mansir. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Again, a lot of work goes into this. A lot of people just kind of there's a lot of people out there who just do a show without putting out the film. The film is out here on this show, and specifically in the film review. So it takes a lot of work. So you helping out the website, helping out the show means a lot. It does. It really helps us out. New equipments, new lights, maybe a backdrop. I got a new house. It helps out. But yeah, I think Douglas is building the right way now. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we think he missed on. I already talked about linebacker. You talk about offensive line, which we'll delve a little bit more deep into. Corner, another area, backup quarterback, kicker. Like there's some things that he missed on right now, but in terms of building the right way, not going out there and, a lot of these fans, which I get, it's free agency. The Jets don't really have a lot to look forward to during the year, but it's like, oh my God, sign Kenny Galladay. Like why? He's injured. He's getting $18, $19 million a year. And he's a lower end number one, maybe a mid-level number one.
Supposedly there was some bad blood at the end of his relationship with the Lions. It kind of sounded almost like a Jamal Adams situation where like he's not necessarily a bad person, but he's using, childish means, I don't know, to get his way or something. I don't know. I didn't read a lot about it, but that's just kind of the vibe I got from that. I'm curious because we're talking about receivers and potentially even adding another one, and we really want to help out our young quarterback. And supposedly this is a really good receiver class yet again.
So can I, and before you even finish that question, can I say something about the receiving thing? What's up, Eagle? What's up? I appreciate you, sir. Sir, you don't miss a review. I appreciate all that. I appreciate everybody in here. All the 238 people, throw some likes. Again, if I miss a chat, I apologize. I try to get to it, but, you also throw a super chat and I'll see it. It looks like I live in a cave, by the way. I see that, Eagle. But The thing with the receiving core, the receivers is, don't you feel like every draft in the NFL going forward, at least the NFL nowadays and in college football nowadays, is going to be receiver heavy? Like I feel like that's going to be a trend.
It's the way. Yeah, I mean, of course,
you have offensive linemen trending downwards. You have receivers because of the spread concepts and all these things in college football that the receivers are going to go up. So yes. I wouldn't put too much hype into, this receiving core is great this year because it was great last year. It was great this year. It's probably going to be great next year and the year after that, until the NFL slowly transitions back into running football more because teams are getting lighter. So
I don't know that that's ever going to happen.
It might not seem like it now, but that's the trend. I feel like it always goes heavy one way, and then the way to combat that is to go heavy the other way. So it might not, but again, I don't think people should continue to look into the receiving draft is deep this year, which again, not completely like dismantling your point. I think that's true that it is deep, but I would just argue to say that it's going to be deep going forward as well. So if the Jets grab a receiver in the 5th round, or maybe not at all, I wouldn't lose your mind, but continue.
Yeah. So my point was, and let me just say this right now. So sorry to Shelly Long, who is a Carolina Panthers fan in the chat right now. I'm going to fix the light. Okay. Yeah. So she's a Panthers fan, and I'm really sorry. I'm glad that someone took Darnold from us and was willing to give us stuff in return. But I have no ill feelings towards the Panthers. I don't dislike. There's no Panthers fans I could think of that I dislike. In fact, any Panthers fans that I know of, and I do know of a couple, they're nice people. So, I wish it was another team that I hated that was getting Darnold and having to give up assets for him. But I am glad and thankful for you guys that you took him, because I am a Jets fan. But anyway, who knows? Maybe he'll be good. I mean, I even wrote in that article, I said, maybe I'll be wrong about him. I was wrong about Josh Allen. I really, really was. On draft night, I wore a shirt that said, don't draft Josh Allen. All right. Look at Josh Allen now. So maybe I'll be wrong about Darnold, but I really highly doubt it. I don't ever see him becoming great. I see him. He probably will be better in Carolina. He'll probably be decently better, but even if he's decently better, that doesn't mean he's good.
It's not good enough to win.
That's not good. So we'll see. What was I saying? Okay. So going back to the receiver point, and again, I'm not a draft guy, and you're not even necessarily a draft guy, Joe. I mean, like, you watch a handful of prospects, couple handfuls of prospects. We don't grade hundreds of prospects every year. That's
which I think is bullshit that people keep it do. I think people watch like 2 games and grade a guy, to be honest. But
yeah, and I mean, if that's your full-time job and you grind 7 days a week and you don't have, I mean, good for you. But anyway, if you do it right. But the point I guess I was trying to say is it seems like when you hear the hype behind some of these guys, and certainly some of the highlights I've seen and the times I watch games, it does look like there's a lot of good guys, high-end guys. And just when you think about how many good quarterbacks there are, there's going to be 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 4, maybe, and maybe 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Mm-hmm. So you wonder if one of these elite receiver pass catcher guys slides. And then if they do slide, I was wondering if you've watched any of these elite receivers, and maybe the Jets start thinking, we'll trade up from 23 to go and try to nab one of these guys, because we really want to help Wilson or maybe possibly Fields out. Wow.
Yeah, no. And again, like, looking at the receiving core, if they get a guy, and thank you to,
that is super, by the way. Read that.
Galiza? Is that the name? I hope I pronounce it right. I hope I'm not butchering it. Great show. Really appreciate the super chat. 100% agree on Cole. Definitely check out that film review, Mike. I'll shout you out in that. I appreciate the super chat. I think JD did a good job of filling a lot of needs. Still need to address cornerback and offensive line. Definitely. We'll talk about that going forward. My problem with some of and I like mostly what Joe Douglas did overall. My problem with it is, with some of the signings he did not make, he's really boxing himself in the draft to take offensive line and corner within the top 4 picks. Like, you can't skip on offensive linemen early in the draft and expect to get guys late. And corner, the same thing. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people like to put out these mock drafts and all these different things out there, but you don't really know how it's ever going to go. So if you have a guy there who's, let's say Greg Newsom's a B+ for the Jets, Quinny Pay is an A-, and overall, like, you'd want to take the higher player on your board. They might have to reach for Newsom as a B or a B+. Again, I'm not rating him a B. I'm just giving 2 names out there, because and somebody said in the chat before, that corner's an overrated need. Corner is a dire need right now.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Bless Austin is listen. So my argument with this is I hear both sides of it. The Jets have a better pass rush. You don't need better cornerbacks. Sure, I get that. But if you're pouring all of this money into the defensive line and the front seven, specifically the rushers, you don't want to limit that effectiveness by having no corners to cover. I like Hall, but they don't have Mollett, they don't have Poole. Who's a slot corner? Guidry. I get that he played good at the end of the year, but he's an undrafted guy who played a good couple of games.
He ran a 4.38, Joe.
But I like him overall, what he did last year. So let's say he's the slot. Bless Austin is not a starting cornerback, and they will attack him. And now you're limiting the effectiveness.
He's so bad. He is so bad.
He's terrible. He's absolutely dreadful. So, Mike, I really appreciate the super chat helping out the show.
That was a super duper chat.
Yeah, that's a super chat I think we ever got. So, now moving on to the rest of the signings. I'm sorry if I don't know if I was even answering a question there because I got distracted by the super chat, but I will answer the super chat. The next one that we'll talk about is Dan Feeney. I'm going to give it like a D+, C-. Listen, my argument with him is he started like 36 games in a row or 34 games in a row or whatever the hell it is over the last couple of years with the Chargers. Is he one of the worst starting corners? Starting offensive lineman in the league? Yes. Now, is there a difference between being a really bad starter? And I make this argument a lot, Kyle. Is there a difference between being a really terrible starter and a bad backup? Like, I'm arguing that Feeney is better than Josh Andrews type players. So I think the depth is a little bit better than it was last year, getting a guy like Feeney who could play all inside the offensive line. But if you're signing Feeney to start or compete for a starting job, terrible signing. So I'll give it a C- just based on the fact that he's better depth than guys like Josh Andrews and all these absolute scrubs that, Jonathan Harrison's of the league. So bad if he's a starter. Okay, I guess, if he's a backup.
Yeah. So I just want to thank some more super chats that we just got in before we forget or miss some. So Mike, thanks again. Once again, Mike said, do you take a chance on Farley? I don't know if you watched him, Joe, but here's my thing. So let me just say what I think about cornerbacks in general. I much more prefer drafting cornerbacks than I do prefer signing quarterbacks in free agency. So take for example, last year, one of the big hot name free agents was the guy from the Cowboys, Byron Jones, right? Yeah. So he got a big contract from Miami. I don't think he had a great season in Miami. I think it was okay, average, but he hasn't lived up to his contract yet. Corners just decline so quick. Just look at Revis's career, right? He was so elite. And then his drop off was like, when you start to get around 30 years old, which is a lot of guys start to get around that when they get to their second contract, they are almost never as effective. So if you want to take a corner who you think you're really confident in, you think he's really going to be a good scheme fit and stuff, I'm all for drafting them. Even take this guy, Atlanta took him. He was so good. He was elite for a couple of years. He had two brothers that played in the league. I don't know where he's at now.
Trufant.
He was really,
I think he went to the Lions.
Okay.
And then he got
he's not good anymore. But he's not good anymore. So some of these guys, they have such a short shelf life with corners. So I much prefer drafting a corner than I do signing one. And I've had that view for so many years now. It just seems that every year I reconfirm what I believe, because I always see these guys who get signed and they never live up to their contracts. Just take Tremaine Johnson, for example. So with Caleb Farley, that's a little bit concerning because he's had multiple back injuries and then he had some lower body injury too, right?
Yeah. He's had some injuries and then he didn't
play
back surgeries.
Didn't play this year too.
You're talking about Farley,
Virginia Tech guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thing with that is too, it's a hard question to answer because I'm not a medical guy. Like I don't have the answers to that. Now, if the Jets are comfortable with his medical history, obviously if Farley falls to 23, he's a guy who's projected in the top 10, top 15. Mostly when you look at him, he's dropped a little bit because of those injuries. So if the Jets are comfortable with those injuries, sure. Does drafting high cornerbacks with injury problems, D. Milner, scare me? Yes. So if Farley has some concerning injury issues and you maybe, Greg Newsome's tape graded, half a grade lower than a Farley, then take the guy who hasn't been injured. So it depends on the Jets. So it's kind of a cop out in terms of like, am I comfortable with it? Because I don't, I don't really know with Farley, but if he's healthy, freaking take him. Like he was a guy who was top 10, top 15. Tyreek Riggins, no question. Just said enjoying the show. Appreciate the super chat from you as
Thanks,
well.
Tyreek.
Yeah, Kellen, I really appreciate it. It helps us out a lot. Now going back to the Dan Feeney question, I'm sure you remember it. Difference between a bad starter and a bad backup. Don't love the signing, but it's something as a backup. I would argue he's better than Harrison and guys like Josh Andrews, who were Jets backups in the past. I'll do a Feeney review.
I mean,
I know there will be like 5 viewers for that. I'll do like 20 plays. So
there is something to be said for having starting experience, because one thing about offensive line, and having played offensive line in my playing days, there is a lot to be said for, working with the guys around you and communication, and knowing what blitzes to pick up, and knowing when guys are stunting and things like this, and knowing, how long you have to hold before you're going to release on a screen and things like that. And regardless of how athletic you are, how strong you are and things like that, you don't get some of that playing experience unless you're actually in the games. So just look at Feeney. He's clearly not a very athletic guy, so he doesn't have that. But there is something to be having that starting experience. So that is a silver lining, so to speak, with him.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll watch some of the film. I think there's a difference between a bad backup and a bad starter. So he has that experience. C-. Next signing, which I like a lot. By the way, I think we're going to shut down calls, Kyle. I don't know if you would agree, but we're not even through free agency yet. We're already an hour through the show. So trying to answer the guys in the super chats and stuff like that. I think we're going to shut down the calls. I know we have a caller in the queue right now, so I apologize, but I do want to get through the topics. I love the callers.
What if a super chatter wants to call? Someone who's got a generous super chat.
I guess, sure, but how the hell am I going to know that? You can just say in the thing that you're.
They would have to do the super chat first.
Maybe. I'll consider it.
Okay.
So, Dan, we went from Dan Feeney to LaMarcus Joyner. What's your grade on that, and what are your overall thoughts?
Oh, I like that. I liked him coming out of college, and I thought that he had some good years with the Rams. And, listen, I'm not going to act like I watched so much LaMarcus Joyner tape throughout his career and stuff, but, PFF has stated and stuff like, hey, listen, when he's playing safety, he's graded well. Okay. I don't generally like how PFF grades safeties. I think that they're a little bit off base with that sometimes. But they said whenever he's played corner, his grades are horrible. So, again, you're just hoping that, Douglas got a good eye for talent, and Saleh knows where to put guys in places where they succeed. It just seems like this could be another steal of a signing. And again, this is another 1-year deal, right?
Yes, 1-year deal.
So again, like, even if we only have him for a year and then he goes and signs another big contract with someone else that says, okay, we're going to play him the same way. Even so, like, I think it's another good quality signing. What was the exact number for him? And there was some incentives in his contract, right? I should
have pulled up all the numbers, but I don't. Yeah, there's definitely incentives.
Okay, yeah. So I like that, and again, I'm anxious to see your film breakdown on that, because Joe Blewett is the best when it comes to breaking down. And listen. Let me just say this too. There might be better people out there in general breaking down prospects on defensive backs and receivers, but I truly do mean when it comes to defensive backs and receivers, I think you're the best out there that I'm aware of.
Appreciate that.
And you're not a coach or anything. So just want or a scout. So just wanted to say that. But then again, I have a bias. I admit it. I have a bias. I'm friends with Joe, even though, you know how Joe was talking on Twitter or one of his film reviews, he was saying, oh yeah, the first round of the draft, I'm going to have some people over my house. I wasn't one of those people. He didn't invite me. Just for the record.
We could discuss that off air. I think you could guess. We'll talk about that off air. So the Joyner signing, and I appreciate that. And Trey was one of our super chatters. If you want to call in, Trey, I'll take. If you want to call in for a couple minutes, I'm cool with that. I might pull a Jets Talk 24/7, and which I'll shout out one of my other friends, Ryan from that channel. Go check him out. I might give you like a 5 minutes type deal. Yeah, I should pull up the contracts, but I think it's right around like $3-4 million for a year. I think like up to 5 or whatever it is for Joyner. But you're looking at a defense, and I said it in past streams with you, Kyle, that one, people are saying Bless Austin's a safety. He's not a safety. No. Oh
my gosh, no.
He can't tackle. He makes hard hits, but in a snap to snap basis, he's not a good tackler. safety, there's even more processing to do around you. You're the last line of defense. He's way too aggressive. He's not a corner. He's not a safety. In my opinion, on a good team, is he the 5th or 6th, maybe cut? Probably. Like legitimate, the deep corner, rotation, he might not be on a team. Like I am not a fan of Bless Austin's game. I'm just not. But in terms of Joyner, people were arguing, or I was arguing, that the Jets need a safety because Davis had a limited sample size, was injured a little bit. And you look at Joyner with the Raiders, he was a slot corner. He didn't do very well as a slot corner because he's a safety. When you look at him at the Rams, I know he's 30 years old or 29 years old right now, so he's a little bit older. But if you put him back in his role of safety next to Marcus May, whether that be like cover 3 cloud where he has a deep 3rd, or cover 4 where he's a deep 4th, or cover 2 deep half, or cover 6 deep half, cover or deep 4th and a cover 6, depending on which side he's on. I think he could thrive in that role. He's super aggressive, so you can have him come downhill a little bit. He could obviously play a little bit of slot, so he's a versatile guy that you can move around the defense. And with the Jets right now, something to consider is they don't have a lot of the Jets don't have a lot of corners right now. So when they do play nickel, it might be big nickel. So now you might see Joyner, Davis, and Hall in the field instead of seeing those primary 3 corners, which obviously the corner position is going to be addressed in some way, whether that be a guy like Steven Nelson or whoever might be brought in here, or draft picks. So I don't think it's done, but as of right now, you have to guess the Jets go big nickel quite often. So I think a guy who was super successful playing deep and in the box a little bit for the Rams, I think the Jets signed him, and they said immediately, you heard that he signed with the Jets because they're looking at playing him back at safety, which he thrived in. So you're signing a guy who's very effective at safety, is still at a decent age. He's not 33. 30 years old is fine for a year or two, maybe even 3. And now you have some depth. You have some options. You can move some guys around. So I give it a B+. I really like the Joyner signing I did.
Yeah, I like that grade too. It sounds about right.
Yeah.
And plus he comes from a winning culture, won a national title with Florida State, if I'm not mistaken, which again, Joe Douglas looking for winning culture and stuff. So.
Next guy we'll get to. We have a lot to talk about still. But moving on, Tyler Kroft, a minuscule signing in terms of this contract, 1-year deal. What are your thoughts on him, and what's your letter grade?
I think what this shows me, and then if you look at Davis being a willing blocker too, I think you're going to see a lot of running from the Jets this year, percentage-wise, when you stack them. And it makes sense too. You got a young rookie quarterback. I mean, running the ball a lot certainly shielded Mark Sanchez early on. Kroft is being brought in here to block more. And even who's our other tight end?
Wesco?
No,
Herndon?
Chris Herndon. He's a willing blocker. He's not great. He has his moments and things like that.
He's average-ish, yeah.
Yeah. So when Kroft's going to be on the field, and Wesco, are they going to keep him at fullback? Who the hell knows? I know he did play some tight end, but I think it's just gonna. And by the way, look at another team like the Rams too, who also, runs a lot of the wide zone, similar to Shanahan and stuff. There's variances in those offenses. But if you look at all those receivers that the Rams have, both Kupp, and if we're talking, I mean, they're probably better than Davis based on how you describe Davis. Kupp and Robert Woods are extremely good blockers, extremely good. And I've watched a lot of Rams films over the years, a lot of Rams film. Those guys are really good blockers. So I think you're just going to see a lot of running this year, and you want to get guys who are good run blockers. And that doesn't just mean on the offensive line. And this is going to help, you don't want Zach Wilson dropping back 40 times a game if he is the guy, or Justin Fields for that matter. So Kroft, that's what I see with him. And, I haven't watched this film yet, but it seems to me that's his calling card. So get a guy who's dirt cheap, who can get in there and scruff for some blocks and stuff. I'm all for it. I like it. So
yeah. What's your grade? I don't know if you gave it.
I'll give it a B.
Yeah, I have a B too. Again, decent signing, a guy who could block. You have some versatility now with him and Wesco, even though Wesco's not really versatile. Like Kroft, I think will go out in routes more than a Wesco would, but both guys can play H-back. Both guys can play fullback. Both guys can play in line. And with a wide blocking zone scheme, which will have some inside zone tied into it as well, especially depending on, the linemen the Jets can get. Maybe they want to run more inside depending. And with 11 personnel, that I think they'll run a little bit more heavy than they did versus 12 personnel with the 49ers last year. Maybe they run more inside. That's a conversation for a different day. But overall, you're getting a blocking tight end. He's very highly regarded in that region, who has some touchdowns, who has some catches. So is he Jonnu Smith who we wanted? No. Is he Gerald Everett who we wanted? No. So are you disappointed you didn't get those guys? Yeah, maybe a little. But in terms of a 1 year, $2 million contract or whatever it is, I think it's right around there. Croft can be effective. And he's had some injury problems. So you're not tied to him long-term. And now you put off tight end for another year with a stopgap guy who's relatively effective. And then you address it down the road. Do you want your George Kittle? Sure. Does every team? Yes. But, yeah, I'm okay with the signing. B. Next signing, Sheldon Rankins. We have 3 more signings to get to. Then we'll get into some areas of need with free agency, talk about their draft space or their cap space. We'll talk about some guys still out there. Then we'll talk about some pro days. We're going to get into a lot. So let's round out the rest of the free agency with the last 3, Kyle. Sheldon Rankins, letter grade, and overall thoughts.
God, I hate sounding like other people who always say the same thing. There's so many different shows out there and stuff, and you want to be different, but at the same time, you also don't want to just try to be different just to be different. But I saw so many people saying it, so I'm not gonna act like I'm the first one to say it. But one thing about Joe Douglas is he's really trying to get these guys that have untapped potential. Gerard Davis was a first-round pick, and Sheldon Rankins was like the 12th overall pick, right? And he certainly had some good years with New Orleans, but he hasn't been there in a while. So again, you're hoping that with good coaching and good scheme fit and stuff like that, you can, and he doesn't have to be, this is Quinnen's team. Quinnen's going to dominate on the interior. But if you're hoping that, if Rankins isn't the number one guy, you're hoping that, he gets some easier matchups, maybe, gets off some double teams and stuff, avoids some double teams. But he does have a 6 spin move though. Weren't you putting out a lot of clips about him using his spin move?
No, I don't think so. By the way, 2 people in the chat. Somebody was talking about Darnold can make all the throws that Zach Wilson can. Absolutely false.
No,
absolutely false. And somebody's talking about that his accuracy won't translate when he plays against NFL defenses. How does his accuracy not translate? I get maybe tight window throws at times, deep accuracy. I would argue that Wilson doesn't put enough air under some balls deep. But his accuracy will translate. Like he's an accurate quarterback. It's not like, in the NFL, it's not going to how does that not translate? Accuracy is accuracy. Tight window throws may be different, but we'll talk about that going.
Yeah, we'll get in. We'll definitely get into Wilson.
Rankins 2-year deal, $17 million with some incentives, but really it's pretty cap effective for the Jets in terms of getting out after 1 year. I think it's a 1-year deal versus like $5.5-6 million if they want to get after 1 year. With him again, I have his film queued up. I'll do a show in a couple of days with him. Obviously he had some injuries. He had the torn ACL, the torn Achilles in 2018, and it was a bad Achilles too, where usually it's just like that whatever the hell it is, like a little skinny part that goes up your foot. He tore that and it to the bottom of his heel too. So it was like a double-edged sword. Like he really tore the shit out of that thing. So watching his 2019 film, he definitely was laboring. Definitely was just relying on bull rushes. He was not as explosive. 2020, I would say he bounced back for me. Watching his film, he was using in a lesser role because there's more guys, more depth there. I would argue. So I think to me, Rankins, and again, he has a variety of moves. He's not a guy who you want really, he's a decent run guy. He will get moved off his spot, but he's like a penetrator. Like you do not want him two gapping at all. I would argue that Q is much stronger than him. He can get pushed off his spot, holding his line, as he's kind of rushing towards the quarterback or holding his ground when he's rushing the quarterback, like that power through contact I always talk about. He doesn't have that. There are some Q is easily the better player than Rankins. Even 2018 Rankins is not even close to Q in my opinion. But Rankins is a solid player. I would argue, or I would tell people that his ceiling, what people thought he was in 2018, isn't as high as you think it is. But I would also argue his last 2 years are not as bad as you think they are. That's kind of where I came away with.
So you basically with Rankins, you don't want to see him on obvious running downs. So with personnel packages and switching, Fatukasi. Yeah. Okay. And obviously Quinnen, you want him on the field as much as possible within reason, because, obviously defensive linemen need to get their wind. Otherwise they'll have no burst to get to the quarterback in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So no two gapping, take him off on obvious rundowns. And
yeah, if he gets comboed, like he's getting moved, like
Okay.
pretty easily. Like he doesn't have that anchor strength that like a guy like Quinn Williams has. It's not like great. It's not like Foley, but yeah, running downs you want Foley, Q inside, John Frankenmeyer's, Lawson. But we'll talk about one of the next signings because we're talking about the defensive line. Vinny Curry, again, another minimal contract. I think it's like another year, $2 million deal. Rounding out the defensive front. What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. You know, we just keep talking about all these 1-year deals, and it's just like Joe Douglas is like, you know, he's got some money to play with, and it's kind of like, oh, well, let's test this out. If it works this year, then maybe we'll talk about, you know, maybe giving him another deal. But he's not like married to these guys or whatever. No, listen, Curry is he's been productive, and not that I wouldn't ever consider him good, but he's had average parts of his career. And he's never gotten like a big, super duper contract. So he's kind of one of these guys. Like I just wrote in the chat that Robert Woods, very underrated player. And Robert Woods is a good player. I would not call Vinny Curry a good player, but he's had pretty average moments and stuff. And if we're talking just purely pass rush, he's better than Jordan Jenkins, especially when you consider career.
Oh yeah. Again, Nani has had some of those breakdowns of like the numbers and stuff, and I will watch the film, but in terms of like pressure per snap, he's actually still up there in the NFL. So if you're looking at a guy which he will be used in this role, a guy who can spell a guy like John Franklin Myers on the edge and rush, he gets pressures a lot. And now you have the versatility on the defensive line where guys are rested. And Kyle, I argued it, and I'll say this consistently. One, rested rushers are the best rushers. Mm-hmm. And two, defensive line is the most physically taxing position in the NFL, in my opinion. Now,
probably I would say corner.
I don't think corner. There's plenty of plays on film where the run is away and corners kind of just stack their guy and just stand there. Like defensive line, like you're going balls to the wall every single play you're in my opinion. But
how hard is it to press a guy, turn at
I'm
the
not
drop
saying,
of
I'm
a
not,
dime
I'm not
and then
saying,
run 50 yards downfield?
I'm not saying difficulty. I'm saying like physically tagging.
Okay.
But you're also facing physically 300-pound.
Yeah, and you're getting into piles of 300-pound dudes. I get it. Okay.
Combo blocks versus two guys.
I get what you're saying.
You know, so this signing, I give Rankins an A-. Curry's an A. You're looking at a 1-year contract, $1.2 million, and now you have the versatility on the defensive line where again guys are rested. And now you're allowing John Franklin Myers to kick in sometimes. So Rankins is not going to play every single pass rush snap that we have out there, or Quinn Williams or whoever it is. Curry can rush from inside and out, more of an outside guy, obviously. But now, okay, Quinn Williams is getting tired, or Rankins getting tired. Curry to the outside, John Franklin Myers, where is he the most successful? 3-tech. Now you take Rankins out from 3-tech or Quinn Williams from 3-tech. You kick them into 1-tech. Now John Franklin Myers is at 3. Q or Sheldon Rankins at 1, and then you have Curry and Lawson, or maybe you take out Lawson and he's tired, and you have John Franklin Myers, Curry, and then the two defensive tackles inside. So that $1.2 million contract, he's not committing to him long term. He's obviously older.
Notice how you didn't say Zuniga there.
Well, we'll see.
I saw people saying Zuniga in the chat, but he looked really bad last year. I know he didn't play a lot, but I couldn't think of one play where I thought, oh wow, he looks good here, or he looks explosive here. He
didn't.
He looks so slow. And when you looked at his college film, you could see the talent there, but
I wasn't overly impressed with the college.
He looked like a different player. Like it looked like the game he was totally not ready for it last year.
Yeah, he was definitely thinking like I think in college he had like some of that like straight line explosion, but like in the NFL, like it just looks like he was processing. Like you can't play fast if you're thinking. Type deal, and that really hit him.
Hey, look, we got a Panthers fan. Panthers keep pounding. Thank you for Sam. He'll be perfect with us. Hey,
good luck.
Good luck,
perfect bro. for 9-8 or 8-9 or whatever the 17 schedule.
Hey, listen.
Schedule.
Hey,
I hate odd numbers.
Hey, listen, we play you guys next year. That's going to be a good 3-interception game for the Jets defense. Can't wait for that game.
As long as they don't have Bless Lawson starting. So the next signing. So again, I give Vinny Curry an A, $1.2 million. One of the most, he's up there in terms of effectiveness per snap in the NFL. In terms of pass rushing, not a great run guy either. So you really have to rely on guys like Foley and Q, because like you look at Lawson, at Curry, John Franklin Myers on the edge, Rankins, they're not great run guys. So the Jets may have their games where they struggle against the run game. But overall, again, really, really happy with it just because of the flexibility it gives the defensive line. Give that an A easily for the contract, if not an A+. That's one of my favorite signings. I think like Vinny Curry, Keelan Cole are two, and Joyner are three signings that are really being overlooked, that are really, really, really good signings. Like people talk about Joe Douglas in the chat. Those are overlooked. The last signing, or one of the last ones, Tevin Coleman. Again, a minimal contract for Coleman. What are your grades and what are your thoughts?
I've watched more of Coleman than I have of some of these other players over the years.
Mm-hmm.
He's good. I mean, he's a good fit depending on, again, we don't know exactly what LaFleur is doing because he hasn't been an offensive coordinator yet. We assume it's going to be some type of mixture of some stuff his brother's doing and some stuff that he got from Kyle Shanahan. But listen, Coleman played with Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta, and then he played with him in San Fran. And Coleman, one of Coleman's biggest issues is getting hurt. He's a running back, and he's, got some tread on the tires now. So you wonder, could he be explosive as earlier? But listen, if he can get to some of the level that he's played at over the years for that amount of money, this is a good signing. But I just don't know that he will, though, because running backs, they have a very short shelf life.
We have the Panthers fan who's naming some of the receivers for the Panthers, and Robbie, and he put in quotes his or in parentheses or whatever his favorite. Didn't Robbie literally like call out Sam Darnold last year?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, basically said like he couldn't hit me on the deep ball. And listen, that was always the argument with Robbie Anderson and Darnold was Robbie Anderson's a deep threat. Darnold does not throw deep balls. Argue with what you want about his coaching, all this stuff. His deep balls are not good. He's just not a good deep ball thrower.
By the way, listen, if you want to say, oh, well, the Jets are the reason why he can't throw a good deep ball. No, even in college, he's not been a good deep ball thrower. And it's not that he doesn't have the arm strength. Like you think like someone like Ryan Fitzpatrick's balls will die downfield. Like, if you try to get him to throw like 30 yards, good luck. His ball, that's not the problem with Darnold. Darnold just doesn't have the touch on deep balls, period.
He misses a lot.
And by the way, yes, unless Robbie Anderson deleted the tweet, if you search Robbie Anderson's Twitter history, you will see him saying he threw Darnold under the bus.
Yeah.
So keep talking shit, Panthers fan.
Yeah, like what he could have done if he didn't have Darnold as a quarterback, like whatever it was. But yeah, Coleman, I give like a C, to be honest. Fits the system, a good receiving back, probably the Jets' best like receiving back. But like you said, the injuries. There were some other guys out there. Like if you're giving him like 1 year, $2 million, like there's guys like Javonte Williams from the Packers. I blank on his name right now. Jamal Williams from the Packers, who are out there for a little bit more money. Now, obviously, I think people's trend with free agencies is to assume, okay, let's just say this one guy gets 1 year, $4 million. Oh, if the Jets offered 1 year, $4 million, they would get him too. That's not the case. So Coleman, it's okay. I did want depth, and he's one of the guys I named like my free agency wish list. He was one of the lower tier guys, but overall, I think it's again an okay signing. Now, could I see the Jets drafting, Hawkins from Louisville in the 6th round and cutting Coleman or Josh Adams or one of these guys? Yes, but is it enough depth where you don't have to necessarily hammer running back in the draft? That's what I would say. So. Overall, Kyle, are you happy with free agency, and what are some of the areas of need that you feel? The Jets right now, they have about $20 million left in a cap. You need about $10 million-ish for draft class. You need about $3 to $5 million in season. Oh, I actually forgot. No, let me rephrase that. The Jets, I think they saved about $10 million by trading Darnold, so they have $30 million in cap space. You have 10-ish for the draft class and about 3 to 5 for in-season costs. Let's say at the low end, they have $15 million. You cut Alex Lewis, you have about $15 to $20 million right now. So consider that. But are you happy? And what are some of the major areas of need for you?
Yeah, overall, I'd give it a good grade. And Joe Douglas has said numerous times that the draft is really going to serve as the basis for building this team, and that is the right approach. So, fans, and I keep saying, and I don't know, maybe even you did this too. I haven't really watched much of Steven Nelson. I mean, I watched some of him when he was with the Chiefs because I used to watch Chiefs games with my dad and stuff. I never thought he was that good with the Chiefs. Maybe he got to be pretty good when he was with the Steelers. Yeah. And I just find it funny, like all these Jets fans, like, oh, we got to sign Steven Nelson. Sign Steven. Like, do you know he's actually good? Like, do you actually know that? I mean, a team just released him. Like, I mean, he's an older corner and stuff. So
I'm one of those guys, Kyle.
So you like him?
And it's funny too, because somebody, I think I said sign, and you're going to probably make a face of this, but I said sign Malcolm Butler, and people, and I know
I liked Butler when he was with the Patriots. I don't know.
So my thing is, I'm not a huge Steven Nelson fan. I'm not a huge Darqueze Dennard fan. I'm not a huge.
You like Dennard. You like Dennard.
I liked him a lot because of Michigan State. But regardless, I'm not a huge fan of any one of these guys. Like thinking that they're like the next hot new thing, or like Casey Hayward. Like, yeah, he had a terrible year last year. Yeah. But in my opinion, are they better than Bless Austin? Yes. Do I want them badly? Yes. Like that's where I stand, because I don't want to go into the draft absolutely needing a corner and a guard at 23 and 34. If you skip on a corner and guard at 23 and 34, and then your next pick is what, like 64 or wherever the hell it is. It's actually later than like 68, like whatever that is, 66, it's something like that. And what if there's not a corner there, and now you have no corners? Like, or do you plan to go back into free agency if you miss in the drafts? Like, I want them to sign a corner to have the flexibility in the draft.
Are there any potential guys on the trade block for teams out the league who are either guards or corners?
That's you know how I feel about like rumors and stuff like that. Like unless it's coming from like a verified account, I really don't give a shit. But some corners in free agency to sign, kind of transitioning to that again. I would give it a pretty good grade again. The lack of attention to corner, the lack of attention to linebacker a little bit. I know he signed Davis, but there's some guys out there I wanted. And some of the lack of attention to guard, even though I would argue, which we'll talk about. Again, Joe Thuney. Oh, the Jets should have signed Joe Thuney. He signed like a $18 or $16 million per year deal with the defending or the Super Bowl runner-ups and the Super Bowl champions the year before that. The Jets could not have outdone that. And then some of the guys that people are talking about in free agency, like, again, Lindsley, was it a good idea if the Jets wanted to transition McGovern to guard? Yes, great idea. Joe Douglas came out and said, or you heard from the Jets organization, they don't want to transition to guard. So those guys are cut off. It just is what it is. So people are talking about Hudson and some of these guards out there. And a lot of these guys, like, and I can't think of a ton of names off the top of my head, but a lot of these guys, when you look at them, are like strictly power guys. Like, you can't just bring in a power offensive lineman and expect him to fit an outside zone, inside zone scheme. So you have to look at scheme fit. And a lot of these people, like, and it not to be a dick, but like a lot of these people who do mock drafts for the Jets who are like big Jets fans, and they have guys who don't fit the scheme at all at offensive line. I'm like, why are you drafting this guy in the third round? It needs to be a scheme fit. You can't just draft like who's the guy from like Alabama or whatever, who's like 330 pounds, 340 pounds, like guard. He's not going to fit an outside zone scheme. He's just not. So you can't just, guard is a guard, or a corner, a man corner or smaller corner is not a guy who Douglas is most likely going to want or Salah's going to want. They like bigger guys. So you have to consider scheme fits. It's really important. But with saying that, now I'm going to be ignorant and talk about some corners who I don't know or if they are scheme fits, but some guys out there in free agency. Casey Hayward, could he be a fit? Sherman is a guy.
He just looked so washed last year. Hayward specifically.
Is he better than Bless Austin?
but dude, that's like saying, is Bless Austin better than me? Like,
oh, come on. Put some respect on Casey Hayward's name. He can bounce back a little bit.
No, Casey Hayward's had a nice little career for himself, but I mean, dude, how bad did Mims make
Okay, so I have a question
for
you that will kind of, and again, is this completely true? How bad did Xavier Rhodes look in his last year with the Vikings?
He looked very bad. And
how did he look last year with the Colts?
Well, I didn't watch much Colts game, but he looked great against Sam Darnold, but that's Sam Darnold.
Okay, but overall, from your general point of view about hearing about him,
he definitely had a resurgence.
Okay, so would I rather have Casey Hayward starting next to Hall, or would I rather have Bless Austin? I'd rather have Casey Hayward.
I mean, the thing is you have a rookie you're going to have a rookie quarterback, and the cap will go up next year, and it should go up a lot.
And again, it's going to be one of those contracts that's like
and you're not married to him. Yeah, exactly. It's like
I just don't want to limit the effectiveness of the front seven or the front four that they've poured so many resources in by having a corner like Bless Austin out there. So looking at Hayward, Sherman is a guy who people talk about. Listen, he's from everything I've heard.
I'd much rather have him than Hayward.
Me too. But we've pretty much heard it from a reliable source that he wants to stay on the West Coast and he wants to go to a winning team. So I don't think he's going to come here.
I don't blame him.
But there's guys out there: Steven Nelson, Brian Poole, Brashad Breeland, Darqueze Dennard, Rasul Douglas. I think who's the Panthers. We had a Panthers fan in here last year. Apparently, he had an effective year with them, all on a 1-year deal. Joe Douglas is familiar with him from the Eagles. Can he bring in Rasul Douglas? Even freaking AJ Boye is out there. He had a bad year, injuries. Arthur Mollett, like. He's a depth guy. He was with the Jets last year. Like the Jets need, I really want them to sign one of these corners before the draft to give them some type of versatility. Where am I comfortable with any one of these guys I'm naming right now as long-term guys? No. But are they stopgap guys where they can hold the fort for a year?
They should sign one of these guys, but just let them wait it out. Like, because if you wait a couple more weeks, these guys' price tags are going to drop. Nobody's clamoring.
That's what they're doing. Guys. That's what and people will get like panicky. Listen, the Jets might have an offer for, let's say, Steven Nelson on the table right now. 2 years, $17 million. If you get another offer that's higher or you're considering leaving, call us back. We'll offer something else. You know, like it's not as black and white. If they offer it, they decline it. Like he could be, a lot of these guys could be sitting on offers. Brian Poole, Nelson, Rasul Douglas. Like you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. So that's one thing I will caution Jets fans with. Now, the other big need that we talked about, linebacker, some guys out there, KJ Wright, who's strictly a Sam, Devondre Campbell, who struggled last year. I forget what team he was on. I know he was on, I think he was on the Cardinals, but he's come up under Ulbrich, and he was relatively effective with him with the Falcons. So he can be a guy maybe they look to sign. Again, Eric Wilson from the Vikings. Now, are these guys who I'm thrilled with? Again, no. Same point with his corner. Are they better than Blake Cashman? Because right now, the Jets linebacking core, they don't have Luvu. They don't have Hewitt. They don't have any one of these guys. Yeah. Their linebacking core right now is pretty much, their starters are Cashman, who gets injured freaking when the wind blows. Yeah. And then you have Mosley, who hasn't played for a couple of years, and you have Davis. Like, that's your core right now. So I am not comfortable with that going to the draft. Again, you have three, in my opinion, massive needs with corner, linebacker, and guard going into the draft. So I want a linebacker. I do. They have enough money to do it. Looking at some of these contracts with Nicholas Morrow and Jayon Brown signing for $4 or $5 million deals, could you get KJ Wright in here for $4 million? Do it. Like, do it. So I think linebacker is an absolutely massive need because, again, Cashman, one, hasn't proved it when he's been on the field. He was overrated because a couple of tackles. Tackles are a very overrated stat. He's consistently injured. You need depth regardless. Bring in one of these linebackers. I don't like the fact that Joe Douglas is kind of ignoring the other linebacker spot, whether that be Sam or Will, because I do think Davis can fit in either role.
Yeah, I'm with you. KJ Wright's the name that stands out the most to me. I think he's had some good things, and Salah's got the familiarity with him. Mm-hmm. I will be right back. I got to get something to drink. I am so thirsty. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Now talking about some of the this is what I'm used to. I'm used to talking about myself. And I see some people in the chat kind of hammering people from Carolina. We have some people arguing. His best season, talk about Robbie Anderson's best year with the Jets in terms of yards and receptions was Josh McCown. Yeah, I think you're actually right, Cole. But yeah, listen, Darnold's on a great deep ball thrower. And like, if you think I'm just shitting on Darnold to shit on Darnold, there's plenty of film and evidence out there that I've put up personally myself. I'm not referencing you to other guys. Like a lot of people do. Oh, well, I heard this guy or this guy say it. Go watch it. If you disagree with me. Call me out. Tag me in a specific play. We could discuss it. I would welcome that. Darnold is not a good deep ball thrower. Darnold was not a good quarterback for the Jets. He was absolutely dreadful. Regardless of what you think about Gase and the entire situation of Darnold being drafted to a bad team roster wise, being drafted to a coach who was then changed the next year to multiple offensive systems. Is that all a factor? Yes. But is he also a part of the factor where, again, I've shown plays of him pre-snap to post-snap, not reading things correctly, not alerting things correctly, not having his hot reads down. You literally see Braxton Berrios versus the Colts alerting him like, hey, this guy is freaking blitzing. Get the ball to me. You seem like waving to him before the snap. The guy blitzes off the edge. Darnold doesn't see it, gets sacked. And Berrios is wide open for a first down, like absolutely wide open, on a bubble. So Darnold struggled. But regardless, going into the guards, Kyle, I just wanted to cover some other people in the chat. Now we're looking at guards. What are your overall thoughts on that? Obviously, we wanted to bring somebody in. The Joe Tooney's out there. But I'm looking at some, and again, I don't think the Jets could have matched that contract, but there are some guys out there who I would like to see, again, brought in for competition on a contract that's not guaranteed, and they could be cut. You know, Try Turner, who had an injury, maybe a Lane Taylor, who had an injury with the Packers, and Nick Easton. Like, there's some guys out there who I would like to be brought in just for competition. But I think I'm hoping that the Jets draft a guy at 23 or 34. I can almost guarantee it. And then you have Clark and Greg Van Roten competing for one spot. But again, don't just be lazy and mock these guys who are 340 pounds to the Jets at guard because it's not a fit. Somebody asked about Trey Smith. From what I've seen from him, or what I've heard about him, he's not a very mobile guy. So I'm not sure if Trey Smith is a fit. I think from Tennessee.
He's one of these guys from the little film that I watched. Once he gets his hands on you and he can, get his breastplate close to yours, you're done. He's going to fall on your ass and pancake you. But can his big ass get to the second level and actually get his hands on you?
Yeah.
Can he run
Catch hand reach?
Can he actually run laterally and cut off a guy and reach a guy? Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. So people talk about the draft being deep with guards, but is it deep with guys who fit the Jets? And I would argue no, because a lot of the guys I look at in these mock drafts, all this stuff in the second, third, fourth round are a lot of power type guys. 330, Trey Smith, the guy from Bama. Like, they're not necessarily good fits for the Jets. So I think the Jets need like a Vera Tucker and a Wyatt Davis type guy, like one of those guys pretty early. Maybe a Jalen Mayfield if you kick him into guard. I heard he can do that. You talk about there's another guy people who have been talking about. He's like a late round, first round tackle who can kick in the guard as well. Somebody throw his name in the chat. I know you guys are up on the draft stuff. I forget what the hell his name is. We'll do the mock draft later and we'll talk about that. But yeah, I would like to see a guy brought in just so it's not an absolute necessity that you draft the guy, which I even still think it is, even if you bring one of these guys. But and it's going to be interesting too to see, are the Jets going to run more inside zone, more outside zone? Because again, with the personnel they have in terms of their strengths, 11 personnel is more conducive to running inside zone. But maybe if they, if they're comfortable with Croft or Wesco getting a lot of snaps, they're running more outside. Like there's going to be variance. It's not going to be strictly outside zone. Like a lot of people think like, oh, Saleh is a guy who just runs zone. But then you look at his stats from last year, and he ran like 25% man. So man is still something that's going to be tied in. Like no guy is just doing that one thing because you get shredded in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, two other kind of smaller needs. And this is hopefully people won't click off with this one. Tevin Jenkins. Yes, that's correct. Kinko. That's what I was thinking about. A guy who said could be a tackle or could be an elite guard. So that's a guy you could think about as well. Now, don't click off on this one, but it's a topic. Is Sam Ficken our kicker? Like, what's going on? Are they going to sign a kicker? Because I don't want, like, Ficken was, he was the guy last year.
Don't be surprised if JD drafts one in the later rounds. Just think about
like Bailey's out there, Gostkowski, Zane Gonzalez, Stan Carlson. Like, they need a kicker. Like, I don't care. You cannot have freaking Anteater Ficken kicking field goals anymore. Like, I can't do it.
He's bad. He is definitely bad. One of the worst Jets kickers that we've had. You can say what you want about the Jets, and they haven't been very good in the last decade plus, but they've had some solid moments of kicking. Like when we had, what the hell is his name? Feely. He was good for us. Nick Folk had some good moments with us and stuff. But
yeah, he was pretty good for a couple of years, Nick Folk. Yeah.
Especially on like long field goals, 55 plus. He was solid. He would he would do something piss you off every now and then. He would shank a short one, but I would always say he folked it. But yeah, Sam Ficken cannot be the kicker.
What a dad joke. Next one that we talk about, people talk about it with Darnold being away because apparently Darnold was going to be, staying on the Jets with as the backup. That's what a lot of people started to think, which I thought was absolutely absurd because you're dividing the locker room and things like that. You already see Marcus May had like the hand over his face emoji. Now, what if Wilson has a bad day of practice? Now May is talking to other guys. Darnold should still be the starter. Like, you just don't want it. Just start new. Mm-hmm. But again, they saved about $10 million of that contract. So something to.
Plus, why would Darnold want to mentor a young kid? And why would you want Darnold mentoring a young kid? Makes no goddamn sense.
What do they do at backup quarterback? Is it Morgan? We haven't seen anything from him. I think.
Dude, they should sign Alex Smith, man.
No, why? No. Who I'd argue? Why not bring in Nick Mullins?
Or Mullins, but Alex Smith.
Who's the other guy?
Alex Smith is a better player than Mullins, so.
Yeah, but are you planning on him?
And look, Alex Smith mentored Patrick Mahomes.
So would I be happy with Alex Smith? Yes, depending on the contract. If he wants a little bit more because he can
that's the
starter type guy. If he wants $5 million, $6 million, no. If he wants 3-4, like Mullins might get, sure, okay. But Mullins had, he's played the system. He could obviously, he's not a great quarterback, but he could still go over things with the system with Wilson or with Fields and kind of help them ease into it. So I think you sign a guy like Mullins for $2-3 million a year, and that's the end of the discussion.
Shanahan spoke highly of Mullins, and when he was speaking highly of Mullins, it was definitely not about the physical stuff. It was about how well he understood the offense. So he could definitely teach it.
Yeah.
be a mentor in that regard. And one thing about him is you're not worried about him taking like, all right, I said sign Alex Smith and I do kind of prefer that, but there is the one concern that some people prefer Alex Smith to start. And you don't want Alex Smith. You're taking this kid, Zach.
They think that freaking cut him.
Yeah.
Get rid of him. So the next, and again, I think those are two things: kicker, backup quarterback, that are important. Again, linebacker, offensive guard, and corner being massive, like absolutely, like cannot be not addressed this year. Like, no, there's no push into the future. Like that has to be addressed. But again, guys can be staying on offers from the Jets. It's not you just decline automatically. Again, they could have a 1 year, $9 million contract with Nelson, and he's trying to find something higher. If not, he goes to the Jets. Like we don't really know. Now Brian Poole, the fact that he's not brought back is kind of interesting too, because obviously he has the familiarity with Ulbrich. And again, Kyle, when I watched that film of Poole with the Falcons, remember I didn't think he was that good. Like I thought he was like really spotty. So maybe with the scheme the Jets are running, they don't think Poole's a great fit. So like that's something to consider as well. So we'll see what happens, but those positions will be addressed.
By the way, 2 Florida players, when I watched their tape before they got on the Jets, I didn't like them that much. Brian Poole and Marcus May, and both of them became some of my favorite Jets. So maybe we got this guy, Gerard Davis, right now. He's like, I don't know about him, but maybe he'll become a player I like. Who knows? If it's following the Florida tradition.
Javid asked, but hasn't Smith not actually been in that offense? I'm not sure if through all of his years, if he's been in the Shanahan type system.
No, not exactly. No, he hasn't. But I mean,
get on, Kyle.
He's been around the league a long time, and
yeah, I'm sure he could pretty quickly transition to that system. But who's this? What did the Redskins run? On the same type of system, right?
I don't even know who they're. I mean, they had Gruden 2 years ago, but last year I don't know who their offensive coordinator was.
Yeah, we'll see.
2 years ago, Alex Smith didn't even play because of the injury.
He got injured.
Shut up.
Okay, so talking about some of the things that happened in recent days, not free agency, moving past that, unless somebody wants to ask a question in the chat or whatever, we've covered a lot of it. It's been 2 hours talking amongst ourselves with that and answering some of you guys.
By the way, I've been more active in the chat today than usual.
You have to be more active on Twitter and change that damn handle deal for Deshaun. You should not condone what he did.
Allegedly,
I'm joking.
You're a man of the law.
I am joking. We will see. But the fact that the court, the case is becoming criminal, not just civil, is concerning, because that means there might be something there. We'll see. But right now, he's not an option for the Jets. It's just not happening. They're drafting Wilson or Fields at 2, and that's going to be the end of the day. And then the Dolphins will trade for him, and all the stuff will be wiped clean. And to compete against Belichick, Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson. So we'll see. Now, the trade up to number 2, that reaffirmed a lot for me, even though I was pretty confident. Oh, sorry, the trade up to 3. That reaffirmed a lot for me. Listen, say what you want about the Niners not calling the Jets and all this stuff, but like you had Rappaport who literally came out and said the Eagles were considering trading up to 3, but they wanted Wilson and said they traded down. Who does Joe Douglas have connections with? Obviously the Eagles. Who does Saleh have connection with? Obviously the Niners. So those teams knew basically, they're taking a quarterback at 2 and it's going to be Zach Wilson. The Eagles said, nope, trading back. And the Niners, and people are like, oh, well, maybe they like a guy at 3 better than Wilson. Does that mean Wilson's bad? No, but they might like a guy at 3, nearly the same. Now, is that Lance? Is that Fields? If it's Mac Jones, I think that's a joke, to be honest. Trading up that much for Mac Jones, who had his ceiling is going to be like an average quarterback, in my opinion. So I would argue
like Kirk Cousins. I
would argue Lance is if I had to bet, I'm going to say Lance. Because of the fact that they can sit him for maybe a couple of games under Garoppolo. And I think his ceiling is pretty damn high. But at the same time, I could see them with Fields as well. Like Fields offers them an element to the Shanahan offense that they've never really had since like an RG3, which was obviously really effective. But regardless, did that kind of reaffirm for you that the Jets are taking a quarterback at 2, and with that quarterback being Zach Wilson, and you look at like, obviously you don't want to like pour a lot into like gambling and stuff like that. Like I do. But in general, like Vegas knows a lot and they're pretty educated people in terms of like their bets and their spreads. Zach Wilson's minus 1,000 right now as a number 2 pick to the Jets, meaning you have to bet, what is that, $100 to win just $10? Like they
pretty
damn sure that Zach Wilson is going to the Jets. And with
What's the odds? And what's the odds for Fields?
I think it's plus 1,000.
Oh, wow.
So like they're pretty sure, again, with the Eagles saying that they were going to trade up to 3, Rappaport having to delete that because they were probably not happy about that. With the Niners, obviously, listen, people argue, oh, well, they like 3 guys. If the Niners can trade up to 2, they trade up to 2 because even let's just say you're a great, I don't know how their grading scale is. If you have the quarterback is not a position to screw around with, tackle, corner, receiver, sure, maybe a little. But if they have, let's say, Zach Wilson as a 98.5 and then Fields is a 98.0, you're going to trade that extra 2nd or 3rd round pick to get up another spot to 2. Like you don't want to you're not going to say, oh, well, I kind of like this guy just as much. So nope. They called the Jets. The Jets said no. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I believe that too. And also, and I cannot remember the last time I watched a quarterback's pro day live, but I happened to be working from home this year because of teaching virtually for school. And I was off when his pro day was taking place. And even if you watch the broadcast, like the way Daniel Jeremiah was speaking about, and he's a guy who's very plugged in. Like you're talking about a guy who I wouldn't be shocked in a couple of years,
especially with Douglas.
If he gets the Mike Mayock treatment and he gets a GM job, like he is very plugged in. And he always says, whenever I talk about mock drafts, it's about what I'm hearing and not what I would do. Like, so I try to anticipate what teams are going to do. And obviously it's easier to mock the beginning of the draft than it is later. So he's plugged in with Douglas. He's plugged in with the league in general. He knows Douglas and he's been mocking Wilson to the Jets for a while now. And if you hear the way he was talking, like he didn't want to totally dismiss the Darnold idea because people have been having fun with that. But if you just hear the way, like just that one comment that he made, for example, like the happiest guys are going to be, or is going to be the waiter or waitress at the restaurant that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh are at after this pro day is over. So like, that's, in my opinion, that's Daniel Jeremiah basically not saying, oh, I know for sure. Here's a report. Here's my source. I know the Jets are taking Zach Wilson, but that's him just having fun and being the good broadcaster that he is, because he is a really good broadcaster, but basically saying like, this is pretty much a done deal. So I think I feel super confident that Wilson is going to be the guy at 2. And I am pretty happy about that. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about the specifics of it and stuff. Ben asked me, do I like Lawrence more than Wilson? I liked Lawrence more. But I do like Wilson, and I do think that that's going to be the pick. And yeah, there's no way that those teams didn't talk to
There's absolutely no way.
Of course they did. And supposedly Rappaport just tweeted out recently before we started this live stream that the Jets and the Panthers have been talking for weeks, and the talks heated up over recent weeks. And apparently the Panthers even asked about moving up to 2, and the Jets were saying no.
Yeah, again, like people, the whole just roll with Sam Darnold. Like my big, like for all the arguments for or against whatever, the biggest argument that says you cannot do that is the Jets trade down. Darnold does not work out with the Jets. The Jets are picking 12. Who are the quarterbacks coming out next year? Are they worth trading up to take because then you're screwed with no quarterback? And 3, are the teams who are up there willing to even trade? Like, what if you have a situation where it's the Jaguars and Jets again? There's only 2 good quarterbacks. Then you don't have a quarterback. Or what if it's a situation where it's a draft like Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins? You don't want either one of them. So like, you can't all just pass off quarterback. There's guys next year. Says who? Says, and who says they're willing to even trade with the Jets? Like, that's just the dumb. I hate that argument. But another kind of like bigger media guy who came out and was talking about the Jets with Wilson at 2 was Steve Young. Did you see those?
Oh yeah, exactly. And you want to talk? All right. Yeah. So let me just talk about that. So Steve Young, BYU, I mean, they've had some good pros over the years, but it's not like an elite SEC school that turns out tons of pros every year. Mm-hmm. And has there been another good quarterback from BYU besides Steve Young? I don't think so. I mean, didn't McMahon go there, but he wasn't very good. Anyway, so Steve Young said on a 49ers radio broadcast, could the 49ers people are asking Steve Young, could they take Zach Wilson? And Steve Young's like, well, yeah, that would probably be their first choice, but the Jets are committed to him and have recruited the family. And I think I got that quote right. Listen, Steve Young obviously has a really close relationship with the people at BYU.
Mm-hmm.
And because he is a Hall of Fame quarterback and had success, I anticipate that Zach Wilson has been in contact and his family's been in contact with Steve Young. And I don't see why Steve Young would make that shit up. And by the way, Steve Young was on BYU broadcast months ago, probably like 2 months ago now. And he said the Jets are doing a ton of work on Zach Wilson. And this was like 2 months ago. Steve Young said that.
Yeah.
So there just seems like there's a ton of smoke around this. And the expression goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't think this is a smoke screen. I think this is for real.
Yeah, especially with him like saying, like, obviously he's connected to the Niners, he's connected to BYU, saying he's recruiting their family. You know, they say that the family would love to go to the Niners, but the Jets have already recruited them, and they're basically locked into taking Wilson at 2. Then you have the whole Eagles thing. Then you have the Niners thing where they didn't trade the pick. Like with the betting odds as well in that favor, like I am 90% sure it's Wilson, if not higher. Like it's going to be Wilson.
Yeah,
now.
I think so.
Obviously, you watched the pro day of both Wilson and Fields. Again, what are your takeaways with Wilson's? I don't take a lot away from it. I think the biggest thing is people we're thinking he's 6 foot, 6'1". He's 6'2" and 1/8 inch.
I knew he was going to be at least 6'2".
Fine. And then
I said that.
The thing about it too is Wilson's not. While other teams add some muscle to his frame, maybe a little. He's 214 pounds. Do you know who has 4 inches on Wilson and weighs less than Wilson? Trevor Lawrence. Why don't we hear that about Lawrence? He's a stick compared to Wilson. If you talk about like every inch you gain, you should probably add another 3 pounds on your body ish, maybe 2, 3. Like that's a guess, but that's what I would say. So he's less weight than Wilson and high and taller. So he's less like mass. So I think that was the important thing with Wilson with the pro day. Obviously, seeing how he interacted with his teammates, which seems good. Kim Jones came out and basically said that and a lot of people came out and said that.
Oh wait,
Joe Douglas is
9.5 inch
gleaming.
hands too. 9.5 inch hands. That's big.
Yeah, which is big. Yeah, and again, there's people there who are saying like Joe Douglas.
By the way, it's bigger than Darnold's hands too.
Even under his mask, like you could see that he was smiling. Like they were happy. Like so. What are your thoughts?
Almost in a way, those measurements might have been more important than the throwing, right? Because someone could have a bad pro day, and it doesn't mean that they're bad against, actual competition and stuff, but those measurements are those measurements. But yeah, I thought he was going to be at least 6'2", because he just looked like, he was that height, and he is relatively slight, but yeah. I mean, it was really interesting to see Lawrence weigh that little, being that he is so tall. But yeah, the hand size, when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, wow, there's a good chance they're going to take him now. And then he did miss a couple relatively easy throws. And when you watch his film, there's maybe a handful or less of examples of him missing some like a little swing route, which is not that hard to hit. And it's like, what was that? But then he just makes some other sick throws.
It's the lower body mechanic.
Yeah. And I know we said this at the beginning of the show, but the one throw, and he actually had 2 that were really special, but the one that was shared on Twitter ad nauseum, it was the best throw day of the pro day cycle. I mean, literally.
Throw day of the pro day?
The best throw out of all pro days. Yeah, literally. He's booting out to his left, and then he's throwing across his body to the right. But it's literally at such an absurd angle that it's like, how many guys can actually make that type of throw in the NFL? Maybe it's got to be 5 or less, maybe.
Yeah, he's not Patrick Mahomes in terms of like arm strength, or Josh Allen in terms of arm strength. But yeah, that ability to make those throws off balance, the ability to throw balls off platform are great. Like it's just great. The quick release he has.
You can't teach it. You just can't. You can't teach it.
You can't. And now people are talking about like now what is your concerns with the shoulder? And we'll get into a little bit more into his game, but like what are your concerns with the shoulder with him? Because people talk about that. There's 2 things that he does put a lot of emphasis on his upper body because and I'll talk about this on the film review again. I'm going to do 30 plays of both Lawrence and Fields before the draft. And then after the draft, I'll finish up with like the remaining like 100 plays I have. His lower body mechanics can be improved. He does overstride at times. He doesn't fully rotate his hips into throws. And something I noticed too with him is when he's making some throws is he's rotating more inside instead of over the top. And so he doesn't rotate his hips all the way through. And that really puts more emphasis on his arms. So he has to rip balls. His lead foot sometimes is not pointed correctly. Like there's some upper or lower body things that lead to him putting more pressure on his shoulders, but they're relatively easy fixes. And the guy who operated on Drew Brees had the same shoulder injury that Wilson had. And he said that's not a concern long-term. So what more evidence do you need that people are always fragile? He's going to get broken, all this stuff. Like, no, like a torn labrum is a torn. I tore my labrum. Obviously I'm not playing NFL quarterback. So it's different, but I've found that, and I've heard that all you have to do with labrums and tears is more of consistent treatment and warming up of that muscle. Like you don't want to just go from cold to hot quickly. Like you really want to warm it up. Nice jog, kind of based with your shoulder. So I'm not overly concerned with the shoulder. Now, if he doesn't change his mechanics, maybe we're a little bit, but people are calling him like fragile in the upper body. That's not true. So
what led to the injury? Was it a hit that he took, or was it?
I don't know.
So that would be interesting to me, because is it him doing it to himself with the way he plays football, or was it just a freak injury? Because with Brees took a nasty hit on the goal line, if I'm not mistaken, so many years ago. But yeah, before you even said the name Drew Brees, that's what I was thinking. Well, Brees post-surgery, I mean, so many people were concerned about the Brees shoulder surgery, and, he went on to be a Hall of Famer. He had his best years after that surgery. So I'm not overly concerned with that. I mean, it is definitely a little bit of concern, but I'm a little bit more concerned with guys that just consistently keep getting injured. Like, guys have freak injuries where they're out for a season. Tom Brady, Mr. Indestructible, Mr. I train pliability so my muscles don't tear, right? Tom Brady, he's only missed games in one season, but he had a freak injury that season. It happens to people sometimes. So you hope that this is the case with Wilson. It was just kind of like a freak injury type of thing. But I'm more concerned with the guys who are just always in the trainer's room for me.
Yeah. Now, quickly getting to this, and we'll talk about kind of both Fields and Wilson, like generically, our thoughts, and then obviously I'll get much deeper into the film. What are your thoughts on Fields per day? I thought it was good. Obviously, came in at a weight you wanted. It was like a 4.4 40 or whatever it was. Good. Quarterbacks rarely have to run in straight lines like that, to be honest. And again, Ohio State has a field that's like known for making guys faster. And with pretty much any guy's pro day, it doesn't matter if it's Fields, it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, right.
Generically, I add like 0.5 to their time.
Dude, Jamal Adams ran a 4.56 at the combine, and then at his pro day, he ran like a low 4.4.
Yeah. So all these guys, I add a half a second or a second onto it. But regardless, I think he had a good day as well. He had that throw rolling out to his left, throwing to his left. That was a bomb. Leading the guy was a perfect throw. So I thought neither guy hurt themselves at the pro days. If anything, they both helped themselves.
Yeah, I actually didn't. I watched every throw from Wilson's pro day. I did not watch every throw from Fields' pro day. And I've also watched a little bit more of Fields in terms of the all 22 tape for both of them. Mm-hmm. I guess part of the reason I wasn't motivated to watch Fields pro day, first of all, it's to be
Wilson.
First of all, it's a pro day. Second of all, I'm pretty locked in that it is Wilson. And I've actually, for so long, I avoided watching what other people were saying about these guys because I wanted to really get a good feel of them myself. Mm-hmm. But now I started to watch, because I watched 14 of Wilson's all 22 tapes now. So I really feel like I got a good feel for him myself. So now I'm starting to watch, what is Mark Schofield saying about him and some of these other guys and stuff. But I really do like the kid and stuff. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they are pro days and stuff, so let's not put too much into them.
So without getting into like all of their strengths and weaknesses, again, we will go over that. Like, what are some of the differences you feel like? Why do you, and I know we're so personally, or not personally, but both of us are more of Wilson guys than Fields, not just because of the draft. I said this even when Fields was lighting it up, or when everybody was on Fields on the beginning of the year, and Wilson started to come up a little bit. I said I was a Wilson guy over Fields, even after the Clemson day, minus maybe a drunk tweet or two. I said to draft Fields, but I was on Wilson. I've been on Wilson, and I've said it to you, I'm sure, months ago that I wanted Wilson, and I know you feel the same way now after watching film. But like, why is that?
I think for me, the biggest thing, what it is his ability to just create out of structure and to just make things happen that you just say, wow, that was ridiculous. That was sick. because in the NFL, coaching is better than it is in college. In the NFL, players are better than they are in college. In the NFL, even more so than better, they're smarter than they are in college because they've been studying it for a long time. So sometimes when you drop back 3-step, 5-step drop, sometimes there's just nothing there. It's covered. But I see a lot more of Wilson. Okay, shit. It's not there. I've gone through my drop. It's not there. Let me step up. Let me scramble to the left. Let me scramble to the right. Oh shit, I got a fucking defensive lineman, 300-pounder breathing down my neck. Let me squirt to the side and throw a little sidearm pass to my running back for a check down. I see so much of more of that with him. And that's the type of shit that keeps defensive coordinators up at night preparing for a game plan. Because it's like, how do you stop that stuff? Right? If you draw up the perfect game plan, right? If you have the perfect coverage, but coverage can't last forever. Russell Wilson or Patrick Mahomes, sometimes they're creating out of structure. And once they start scrambling out, their guys start running a different route, trying to uncover themselves and getting them open. I see Wilson doing so much more of that in the pros than I do with Fields. And I think that's kind of what makes some of these guys special. Look at some of the most special quarterbacks in the league right now. Deshaun Watson, you see him do that. Aaron Rodgers, you see him do that. Patrick Mahomes, you see him do that.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, of course, you see him do that. And Josh Allen, I hate to say it, I was wrong about him, but you see him do that as well. Right? But the guys are, take Phillip Rivers, he just retired. He doesn't do that type of shit, right? He knows where the blitz is coming from and stuff, but he can't do that type of stuff. Kirk Cousins, right? He's another type of smart guy, scored really high on his Wonderlic test and stuff. Every coaching staff speaks very highly about him. He can't do that type of shit. Now, Justin Fields is very athletic. He is, but you don't see him doing that type of stuff on his film that much. And I've been saying this so many times now, but for those of you guys who say, oh, well, Justin Fields ran a 4.4 something, Zach Wilson can't do that. Justin Fields doesn't play like that. He doesn't run like that. He doesn't make guys miss like Lamar Jackson does when he runs. I'm saying, I think
so. I like his speed overall. I think Fields' running ability is a little bit overrated to me. I think it's good.
It's very overrated. It's very overrated, I think. And that doesn't mean to say it's not good, but it's very overrated. Listen, Justin Fields will be like a borderline top 5 running quarterback in the league. Borderline
people
top
talk
5.
About him like he's like Lamar Jackson, like even Kyler Murray.
He's nowhere close to either of those guys in terms of running ability. And here's the thing too. I don't want my quarterback running downfield like that. I mean, every now and then, yeah, sure. But I'd much rather have my quarterback, running behind the line of scrimmage to buy a little extra time to make a throw rather than running downfield and taking a kill shot from someone.
No. And I want to ask you another question, but even like now with Fields, like, does he offer more to the offense where now you can run more read option and things like that? Yes. If that's the offense you want to run, which is a positive of him. Like, I'll give him that. And again, I'm not so down. Like people, it seems like in Twitter nowadays, you're either Wilson or you're Fields, and that's it. You have to be one guy or the other. It's like Republican versus Democrat. Like you can't agree to the other side at all, or you're screwed. You get called out by the tribalism, crazy Americans.
Binary thinking.
Yes. So, would I be disappointed if they drafted Fields?
No.
A little.
Yeah.
Because I like Wilson more.
Little.
But if Wilson wasn't in existence and Fields was a pick at 2, I'll be happy. But now, and again, you can run the read option with him. Now, what are your thoughts? And I'll get into it a little bit as well. What are your thoughts in terms of like the whole Wilson playing at a small school versus what Fields had to deal with? Because to me, like so one, Fields had more pocket time per snap, which he did face a little bit more pressure, and that could be based on the fact that Wilson was quicker to bail out of the pocket than Fields was, and Fields would stand in there. So that might be a little bit of that, but to me, and I get that Wilson had some good, like relatively decent talent around him, but it's not like Wilson was playing with Olave and with Sermon and with Wyatt Davis and all these guys. So Wilson was playing.
Even that tight end for Ohio State was pretty decent.
Yeah, Wilson was playing with lower competition, competition on his team. Fields was playing with the guys who are going to be drafted in the first, second, third round against teams like Clemson. People talk about, like, yeah, it's a powerhouse, but because we have Trevor Lawrence, like who's getting drafted in their defense? So I would argue that, yeah, Wilson might have had obviously a little bit of softer schedule, but with less talent. And I would argue that Fields, a lot of his like highlight plays that you watched, a lot of the film that you watched, stuff was like, and minus the Clemson game was the best game that either one of those played all year. If that was him all year, Fields is the easy number one pick, but that's not him.
Sure.
At least consistently. I would argue that Fields versus Wilson in terms of like competition, stuff was easier for Fields, in my opinion, a good amount of the time.
Yes. And I can't speak to numbers or anything too, but Ohio State had a very effective running game. And in some of the all 22 tapes that I had of BYU's offense literally didn't have any running plays in them. It was just Zach Wilson stuff. So maybe I don't
They did run a decent amount with BYU.
So, okay. So, but I was thinking, I see a lot more running from Ohio State and a lot more effective running at that. So I just felt like when I watched Fields, and I'm not making a Dwayne Haskins comparison at all. I'm be 100% clear with that. Justin Fields is way more talented than Dwayne Haskins. So I think that people that were doing that type of comparison, that shit is very, very, very lazy. But sometimes when people make an accusation like that, there's at least a grain of truth in there. And for me, I feel like at times what Ohio State was asking Fields to do, and based on how much talent he had around him, made things a little bit easy.
Yeah, and so and I'll get into some of those things too. People talk like, somebody said a large amount of off-platform throws equal bad mechanics. He does not have bad mechanics on off-platform throws.
Who? Wilson?
Wilson, yeah, that's not true. He does a really good job balancing his body out. Creating that like you have to get like if you're trying to throw like rolling out to the left off the left foot, you either want to like create like vertical momentum through the left foot if that's what you're planting on. Or you could do like that hook and replace step or footwork that I will talk about in my show coming forward. So his off-platform throws are not bad mechanics. And it's not like, and the reason for his off-platform throws is you'd see it sometimes in film where he'd be moving in the pocket and to get the ball out on time. And when he needed to get out to fit into the receiver, he'd throw off-platform. It's not like he was trying to throw on platform, but it was bad mechanics. So it's like off-platform bad mechanics are not the same thing. And if he took that extra second to take a hitch and throw to a guy, then it wouldn't have got there. So, but overall, like Wilson versus Fields, like, so I'll go with Fields first. And again, like with his offense, I do think that like, just go watch the highlights. Like, and again, there'll be a lot more, there's like 140 plays I have queued up of him. Wow. How many of his throws are like wide open guys, like wide open? And so one of my things too with him is like, yeah, he had a good team around him. And some people, I don't agree with the whole progression stuff because I do think he goes through his progression. But what Ohio State asks him to do is there's a lot of option routes. So he might stare at a guy because he's reading the option route. But he was throwing to a good amount of open guys. I will argue that his pocket presence is not bad. He's just too confident in the pocket. Like he could break every sack that's coming towards him. So I don't think it's his bad pocket presence. He's just way too confident in himself. And again, I have seen him go through reads. So I don't agree with that. He's a bad reader. Now I think he will get through progressions. My problem with Fields is too, that I think he lacks the trigger that Wilson does, where Wilson sees a guy open or sees a guy with leverage, or he has the anticipation that Fields does not. Fields needs to see guys pretty open before he throws it. But that's not the same thing as progressions. But with him, I think he's a better athlete in terms of obviously like just the physical nature of Fields. I think his deep ball is easily better than Wilson, in my opinion.
Yeah, he does have a great deep ball.
His deep ball is elite. It is. And again, I'm all Wilson and Fields is terrible because I like Fields as well. But the option routes that he ran is not a very pro style thing. Like there are some jerk routes and things like that in the NFL, but it wasn't a very pro style system. You saw him looking towards the sideline until like 20 seconds left on the clock. Everything was coming from the sideline. So that's a slight concern. Again, he had to stare at guys for the option routes. The lack of trigger. I'm trying to think of what else off the top of my head. I think his accuracy is a little bit overhyped to me. I think his deep ball accuracy is great, but I don't know if you saw it on film, how many games you watched, but there's a lot of like intermediate.
10. It was about 10
intermediate touch throws that he just completely sails the ball. Like he doesn't have control of his power. At times I would say his release is pretty slow. In my opinion, again, the confidence in the pocket's a little bit concerning, but then again, like some of the things that people talk about, that are negatives to them, like the fact that he can't read a defense or he can't look off of safeties. I've seen him look off of safeties. I've seen him go through progressions. So like those things are there for Fields for me. But getting into Wilson, I just feel like he's the better like quarterback. Like Fields might have some of the better traits a little bit, but I feel like Wilson, I'm more confident in his quarterback ability. Like, so Fields might have that higher ceiling, but I also feel Fields has a lower floor than Wilson does. And that's not a popular opinion, but I feel like that Fields could be a lower floor player. Just based on what I saw at Ohio State. Now for Wilson, I see better anticipation. I see a quicker trigger. He anticipates throws. He sees guys open. He throws. It doesn't take him a second. He has a much quicker release. His accuracy, I would argue, is consistently better than Fields. His reading of leverage. He ran an outside zone system and a similar system to the Jets with a lot of crossing routes, a lot of outside zone type thing, which is good. I would like to see better mechanics though with Wilson. I would say Fields, obviously Wilson has a quicker release, but I would say that he has a better Fields has better mechanics from a snap to snap basis. But there are some things with Wilson too. Like, okay, I want to see him work more over the middle. I think he's really good at like alerting ISO routes and things like that, and throwing ISO routes versus leverage. I would like to see him throw more over the middle. I would like to see him on more.
Wilson is so good at making opposite hash throws, like on a deep comebacks and outs to the other side. Like how many examples of that are all littered throughout his film?
Yeah, and
those are big boy NFL throws.
Jets, or four Jets. Fields is the better athlete. Wilson's the better thrower in his opinion. And I agree with that. I think me and Kyle both agree with that. That Fields is a better athlete, but Wilson's a better thrower of the football. Not in terms of mechanics. I'm just saying like getting the ball there, altered arm angles, off-platform throws, fading to his left, throwing across his body to the right.
Like that's it's like, yeah, Fields is kind of one of these guys. He's got to play it with really sound mechanic. So let's take the Dan Orlovsky Darnold example for him. Like if you watch Fields, like he drops back and he consistently is pretty sound in his mechanics. Like he's consistently aiming and pointing his body and his shoulders and pointing his feet to where his intended target is.
Yes,
and
he's very he has to set and throw. Like he's
exactly, but he has to do that to get the ball where he wants.
He's not comfortable with it otherwise.
Okay, and if it's a muddy pocket and Wilson wants to just, my body, my shoulder and body's pointed here, but I'm at the split second I see a guy open here, he can still manage to get it there on like whether it be a jump pass or something like that.
Now, I don't want somebody on Twitter going and showing one or two plays of Fields doing that. We're talking about over games and games and games of film consistently. So I think Wilson can deliver the balls in more way, like you said, like the quick trigger. He's much better at, in my opinion, off-platform throws, throwing on the run than Fields. Like Fields is a guy. He does have some nice throws on the run for sure, but in terms of the consistency with it, I think Wilson's better. Again, but like with Wilson, I do want to see him more over the middle. I do want to see more consistent accuracy over the middle leading guys. I want to see less hospital balls that he throws. With the safety dropping down, he will throw a hospital ball.
Yes.
I want to see with Wilson, his processing over the middle. Sometimes with more flooded concepts, you can see him hesitate a little bit. So I want to see that improved. But you saw him also do more with the offense, like alerting to the isolated side and things like that.
Can we talk about how much of an improvement he had from year 2 to 3?
But so personally, I know the numbers aren't there year 2. I think probably again, I'm doing the first 30 plays of each review. My first 30 plays, I think of all of 2019 or 2018 film, whatever it is. I was disappointed with evaluators that Wilson wasn't talked about more before his last year at BYU. Because there was a lot of traits there, a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The talent is definitely there, and you wonder, I was also wondering maybe some of his BYU, the supporting cast around him wasn't as good that year too. I don't know that answer. But yeah, there was like that one play that he had against USC his sophomore year. Like I watched that play and people shared it on Twitter and stuff. And I was like, This is a Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes moment here, period. Like how many guys can do that? And I'm talking like Wilson drops back. I don't have the play queued up. But it's in his sophomore year against USC at USC game. He basically drops back and he boots around, and then he gains so much depth, but then he runs up this big, in the tackle box, and he finds a receiver down the deep seam, running like a post or something like that, and just chucks it up. And the guy
for a touchdown.
I don't think it was for a touchdown, but it was for a 40-something yard gain. Like that is just a special play.
Yeah.
Just not many guys can do shit like that. So you figure when you see traits like that, he should have been talked up more. But in terms of cleaning up some of his inconsistencies and stuff, he did that a lot. I felt like from year 2 to 3.
Now we have some people like asking about some of the issues with Wilson, and some of my biggest ones are the mechanics. I think it's a little bit overblown to me personally, but there is some of the he's a little bit risk adverse at times where I want him to check the ball down. But I think like especially in 2020, you would see him take the easy balls. Like, I don't know if it's Coastal Carolina or what game it was, but there's a lot of mesh concepts they ran in that game, and he just kept taking underneath. It's like he sometimes he needs to just throw the ball away. But I would say that's a little bit overblown. The one thing I definitely want to see him do in the NFL is there's way too many times with Wilson for me where he bails out of the pocket, where I think he could step up in the pocket. Like sometimes he gets a little bit uneasy and just does like that pivot or reverse pivot and just completely bails out of the pocket, where I want to see better pocket management, him stepping up in the pocket, being more consistent in the pocket. He could take hits. And somebody said, oh, well, what about Fletcher Cox? When Fletcher Cox hits him, strikes me as a guy who can get in his head pretty easily.
I was about to comment on that too.
For what reason is he a guy who strikes you who can get hit pretty easily? And if we're talking about Wilson's weight, then why is he way more than Trevor Lawrence, who has 4 inches on him? So like, don't give me like that. I don't like that argument, to be completely honest. But yeah, there's things like I said, the mechanics of bailing out of the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, look,
the throwing over the middle, the processing on flooded concepts. But overall, I still like him better.
If we can talk about that comment a little bit more. Take the Coastal Carolina game, which was supposedly Wilson's worst game or whatever.
I'm going to send it to you. It's overblown.
I know. And Nania had the stat that there was 100 yards worth of dropped passes by his receivers in that game.
And he also had a touchdown on a screen pass, which again, it's a screen pass. Who cares? It was an 80-yard touchdown on a screen pass that was like called back for like a legal block in the back or holding or something like that too.
Yeah, but all right, so why am I bringing
the interception was on a Hail Mary at the end of the first half.
Yeah. So I'm bringing up that game because if you saw in that game, like the Coastal Carolina players, you had 2 players blocking him. That was pretty dirty the way they blocked him and shoved his face into the floor. Did that get in his head? It didn't seem like it because he had his team ready to win that game and they were like a yard short from winning the game at the end. So yeah. I don't know if I buy that just because, I mean, you look at the kid and, he's got a baby face. He does have a baby face. So other than just like, that's to me, that's judging a book by its cover. I mean, like, I don't know what you're basing that on. I
have a baby face too. So if that's the assumption you want to make about me, then go ahead. But yeah, like again, I talk about some of the stuff like the flooded concepts, the throwing over the middle, bailing out of the pocket, but like overall, like his, like the anticipation throws, the quick trigger, the accuracy. Like
do you want to
like
pull
Wilson
up any
better.
Examples now?
I have 130 plays. I don't.
Okay. I was like one, if you wanted to, if it's, maybe. I don't know how much more things you want to delve into, but this is our future seemingly.
Well, yeah, maybe I don't know. Like I'm trying to think about like in terms of what kind of throw do you want to see?
Well, you were talking about like anticipation. I would have liked to, I didn't feel like he was like a super duper great anticipation thrower personally.
I think he's solid with it. I think that he's just much better than Fields in anticipation. And like, I think he's quicker to pull the trigger again, which is important in the NFL because like, especially in like people talk about like, oh, the fit for the offense. Like people trying to call, it's funny. You see a lot of like bigger wigs out there who call people out who have like 4 Twitter followers and because they know they can call them out because they know they're not going to respond. For me, the reason he's a better fit for the offense is the accuracy. I like his accuracy more than Fields does. Again, I think Fields sails on more balls. The quick trigger is important in an offense that you need to get rid of the ball quickly, especially for Yak. And the quick release. Again, if you have a slow trigger and a slow release, guess what happens? That Yak ability for your receiver gets limited in an offense that's really built on Yak, or a lot of it's built on Yak. Wilson has a quicker trigger, has a quick release. He can throw a fastball. So that's a big reason why he's a better fit. Also, he ran a relatively similar system to the Jets, or what the Jets are believed to run at BYU. So I hate these big people. Oh, tell me why. They don't know why because, they're just going with like a lot of people do with YouTube highlights. But those are some of the biggest reasons I like him better. And again, I think upstairs he's a little bit better than Fields. But Fields will look off a safety. He will go through his reads. The reason he was holding the ball was because of option routes, and he doesn't have bad pocket presence. He has too much confidence in himself. So I'm not hammering Fields.
That's a double-edged sword, because you take a guy that's like Fields like you tip a cap to him in a sense. Like, dude, you hang that strong in the pocket when you got a 300-pound dude, ready to kill you. Like, I tip my hat to that. But in an ideal world, you'd want a guy who can slide around the pocket and avoid the pressure a little bit more. Whereas Fields kind of stands, I don't want to say stands like a statue, because he does move and shuffle and things like that, but he's not afraid to take a shot. Whereas some guys, like this was a knock on Cousins, can kind of, crumble under pressure at times. I did want to ask you a question, Joe. Based on the fact that you're pretty much wrapping up your eval on Wilson, and he is, your preferred QB that's at least a realistic option, where do you stack his draft grade, so to speak, in your mind versus where you had Darnold's at? Because Darnold was your QB1 3 years ago.
For the lack of looking stupid, I'm just talking about the prospects of them coming out. And if you have again, the three guys I've watched extensively: Wilson, Fields, Darnold. And I watched some of the other guys as well, Baker and like all those guys. I kind of forget their film now, like a little bit. I have Wilson above Darnold, and again, this is not Monday morning quarterbacking. I'm going based on my evaluation. What I thought at the time, I'd have Wilson at 1, Darnold at 2, Fields at 3. For the risk of sounding stupid, but that's being fair to my evaluation. I'm not just going to change it now. But people are talking about let's see. I don't know if you wanted more out of that, but
no, that I just wanted to, I didn't want like specific reasons why and stuff. And I could tell you guys, and I said this a little bit. Actually, you know what? I don't think we were recording yet when I said this. I was not the hugest fan on Darnold. I saw why people were high on him, because there's no doubt that he does have talent. But I put this tweet out a couple months ago, just from a pure talent perspective. I think that both, in my opinion, Fields and Wilson are talented. Even I'm just talking about from the physical. I don't think that Darnold's mental aspect of the game is good, and I haven't thought that for a while. But I'm talking physically. I see both them being more talented. And let's just talk about Wilson for a moment. I think he's got some skills that Darnold just doesn't have. Like, you will see, like, so
his off-platform throws are 10 times better.
Yeah. So people called him Mormon Mahomes and stuff. And listen, he's not Patrick Mahomes. And I said this in our last live stream. Mahomes can throw from the craziest arm angle and still push the ball 60 yards downfield.
Wilson cannot do that.
I don't see that with Wilson. All right.
He needs to get more into the throw than
Mahomes can
does.
be fading back in a back pedal like you saw in the Super Bowl against the Niners.
A laser 55 yards down the field.
Yeah. You don't see that from Wilson either. But you can see Wilson like fade back and still throw like pretty good passes, 15, 20 yards down the field.
30, 35, yeah.
You don't see that shit with Darnold. I don't ever really remember Darnold throwing like really good passes while fading back like that.
On the run, good. Off platform, fading back, no. It's different throws.
Darnold could have been great if he was in a good offense that used a lot of bootlegs where you asked him to roll to his right.
To be honest, this offense.
Yeah, like if he was in this offense from the jump, maybe his career would have gone differently.
It would have been. It would have been. I'm confident it would have been different.
Yeah, but like, so I'm just saying, like that type of stuff, and like, when you see Wilson doing some of these things where literally like he's cocking and he's throwing like kind of like a shortstop, like throwing to first base or whatever, like, and you got to throw from this like crazy sidearm angle. You never see Darnold doing things like that, and Wilson does that stuff frequently.
Now, and I think Wilson should also cut down on that stuff though sometimes too. Like there's times where I talk about like the risk adversity. Like, so people are talking about like Darnold versus him. Like he has a better arm than Darnold, deep, rolling out everything. He does. He just does. Darnold had a good arm, but not like Wilson. I do want it with risk adversity. It's not necessarily like throwing into like tight windows that are going to get jumped. He only had like 3 interceptions. The one thing that I do want to see is him limit those like hero ball plays, like one rolling out of the pocket, like too early. But there's some times where like he'll try to like pump a safety, no look, throw a pass. Like it's almost been picked. Like there's been a couple times of that. So I think he needs to be fancy when he can get fancy, but sometimes he tries to get too fancy for no reason. So I would say that. Somebody asked you in the chat, Kyle, thoughts on Fields' lack of ability to pull the trigger when he sees the play. That's what I said. I don't know if you agree with that. I don't know if they just don't think I'm right.
There are some times when that pops up on film, but I think that was by and large overblown.
Same thing with the reading, but I do still have it as a weakness for him.
Yeah, so it did happen sometimes, but I wouldn't be super duper concerned with it. I don't know if this person Shadow Maniac was asking me. People keep talking about Chris Sims and stuff. I feel like I answered that once already. I do want to say this because people keep asking about Lawrence. So the way I kind of view it is, I think Lawrence by far has the highest floor in this class. I see it like, and I don't think that I'm skeptical about the whole Urban Meyer thing in Jacksonville with the ownership.
Yeah, somebody said he had a good coaching staff around him. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, and Urban Meyer's never coached in the NFL. He's old. He never stays anywhere for a long period of time.
Ruffles feathers.
So that could not be so good for Trevor, but I still don't I don't see Trevor busting. I see that as a pretty low, very low probability. So I think Trevor's got a very low floor, but I feel like the ceiling between Wilson's and Lawrence is pretty similar, if that makes sense. But I would think that Trevor's floor is pretty higher than
I agree with
Wilson.
That. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, and again, to wrap it up, I don't know if you want to get into anything else. What are your thoughts about the better fit thing that I was speaking about? Because I've seen a lot of the bigger wigs beat dicks and call people out for that because they don't really know. But I do feel he's a better fit for the Jets offense. So how do you feel about that in my reasoning?
So about Wilson versus Fields?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do as well. I mean, listen.
Go ahead, Kyle. One of the big wigs is calling you out. What are you gonna say? Because I didn't like that people were doing that. It's because of the anticipation, the ability to pull the trigger, his accuracy, the quick release. Those are big reasons. Plus a similar offense that he ran at BYU. That's the main reasons for me. Maybe I'm missing one off the top of my head.
And again, when you're running heavy, lots of bootlegs and lots of getting and it's a lot of it. We're not even talking about full bootlegs because, all right. So sometimes if you're running wide zone, outside zone to the left, sometimes you'll have your quarterbacks do a full on boot to the right. Right. That's part of this type of offense, but sometimes you do a lot of half boots. You saw a lot of half boots with the Rams and Jared Goff. I think you're going to see a lot of that. Wilson is very good on half boots. But when you run a half bootleg, when you don't fully run out to the other side, you're still requiring your quarterback to sometimes make off-platform throws, especially if you have a defender.
Or be able to stop and plant and get rid of the ball quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. If you got a free rusher off the edge, and you got to get that ball out quick, Wilson's very good at, oh shit, let me stop, let me throw.
Where Fields might take that extra second and get hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think that Wilson is a better fit, but I think either could be good. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said if they draft Fields, well, I'd be a little disappointed. Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're still drafting a kid who is insanely athletic, very talented, fresh new face.
Who if you added the read option to this offense could be even more of a versatile offense that you could build upon. So I like Fields. I just don't love Fields. I really like Wilson. I just like Fields. I'm just in like with him, as they would say.
So the big thing is putting a number grade on. And I know that you don't really have this full on draft system. You're not a draft guy, but did you put a number grade or maybe a letter grade on either of these guys?
No, I don't. I know there's people maybe I should look up a system how to do that, based on certain traits that they have, how to number it and stuff like that. But
okay,
Zach Wilson's an A- prospect for me, and Fields is a B+, B. Okay. Fields again. I just think that, and Wilson doesn't need to improve his deep ball too. That's something we talked about that Fields definitely has over him. Wilson needs to put more air under it because some of those throws that he made, back shoulder, and there's a difference between throwing back shoulder when the corner opens up early and your guy has a sideline. That's different than just throwing a low ball over the top. You could throw lasers to the back shoulder when the guy's over the top, but when it's trying to go over the top and it's a laser, you don't want that in the NFL because guys will pick that. There's that one game that he threw it low, and I was I'm sorry, in the NFL that's most likely a deflection or a pick with a good corner. So he needs to improve on that. But overall,
but he's got some corners where he just drops it in the bucket. Though,
yeah. But I'm just talking about and I don't know how well we recapped it. We try to get into a lot of kind of niches with that, but to me, to be really simple, I feel like Wilson and this is almost going to be too simple, is the better quarterback. Where Fields has the better traits and he's more traitsy, but in terms of being the better guys on Sundays, making plays, all the stuff we've talked about, I'm just more confident in Wilson. That's how I feel. And again, the film reviews will come. You'll have plenty to see me break down. So, I'm not just bullshitting you because of whatever. Now, and I don't know if I should mention this, but I will. I think that again, it's Wilson versus Fields, and like I think some of the people are discounting Fields because of the color of his skin, which I feel like is bullshit. But then there's other people who also try to weaponize that. We're like, oh, if you don't like Fields, that's the reason why. So like, I think it kind of works both ways like that.
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah, I don't want to speak too much about that, but like that's not the reason I don't like him as much as Wilson, but I don't hate Fields, but don't weaponize that either. But obviously there are people out there 100% who are like, oh, he's just a running quarterback. Like, no, he's not. Oh, he doesn't go through he never goes through his past his first read. Not true. Does he stare at some reads because he has option routes at Ohio State? That's how the offense is built. Yes, but you have to know the reason why that happens with his game. But overall, again, Wilson's a better quarterback to me. I feel more confident with him. I want him at 2. Is there anything else you want to get into? Again, I think the Wilson, his competition versus Fields' competition, I would argue that Fields had it a little bit easier than Fields with the offense that was built around him, with the talent he had on his team. Like, listen, when Fields is playing North Alabama with Ohio State's offense versus when Wilson's playing North Alabama with the skill in his offense, like it's a little bit harder for Wilson. So I don't like that argument either. Is there anything else you want to hit on with that?
With these two guys?
Well, I don't think we're getting to any of the quarterbacks. Like people talking about Lawrence and
Lance
and all this stuff. Listen, like maybe it's me being lazy again. I have a full-time job. I do free agency. I do draft. I'm not just a draft guy. I'm like a lot of people out there. So if they draft Lance and blow my mind, I'll do a full-blown review on him. But I don't pay attention to guys I don't think will be on the Jets. You know, it just I don't have the time to do it. So
yeah, I think you said it really good when you were talking about like, you know, the racial aspect of it. And it's sad that it has to be that way too. And then also the political stuff, like, and I don't even know if I haven't seen Wilson post any MAGA stuff, and maybe he did, but like some people, want to character assassinate him because maybe he had certain political leanings or whatever. And even if those true, I don't share those political leanings or whatever, but the idea that, just because you support a,
dude, I couldn't care. That's the dumbest thing ever. If you support,
but I'm saying just
Hillary,
because
Bernie, Trump, if you're a quarterback, I don't care. Who cares? Like people are so freaking soft nowadays with political stuff. Just get over yourself.
Like, yeah, this can't be my quarterback.
Kyle, listen, if you're a liberal, we can't be friends. Or if I'm a Democrat, we can't be friends. Like, no, no way.
That's part of the problem too, is that people think and feel that way
because they're soft. That's why. So somebody asked this question. I want you to answer it. Somebody said, or Jared said, some say overconfident plus unnecessary amount of off-platform, different arm angle throws, plus 1 year wonder, plus lack of competition in college equals recipe for bust. There's a lot in there.
I don't think he's a 1 year. I don't think he's a 1 year wonder. Though.
He's not a 1 year wonder. His overconfidence, it's there sometimes, like rolling out of the pocket, and like some throws that are a little bit too risky. But like he didn't throw a lot of picks. He didn't put the ball in harm's way.
Dude,
the off-platform throws are gone. The off-platform throws are great for the most part. He doesn't really throw a lot of off-platform and don't need to be off-platform. Now the risky balls, like looking off guys, don't need to be off-looked or looked off. It's there, but it's over-exaggerated. Like it's there very minimally. So
sometimes he does this thing too, where he'll go first read, second read, back to first read. Like there's a couple times on film where he's doing that too. And you could get yourself at the next level into some trouble doing that shit.
Yeah. So, but then like the lack of competition thing, like, okay, let's just talk about like even just a Clemson game for Fields. Who is getting drafted on defense from Clemson right now? Like, don't just look at the name and look at who Fields had on his offense. Now, again, with that being said, if you've been listening to the whole show, I said that is the best game that either quarterback had. But it's about consistency from a game-to-game basis. Like, I don't care about one game. Because if you're talking about one game, Geno Smith versus the Falcons on Monday night, maybe he should still be the quarterback of the Jets. Like, obviously I'm not making that direct comparison between
and that Field, that Falcons defense was so bad that year.
But exactly. So, okay. So moving on. I think we covered it relatively well. There's still some points out there that we didn't hit on, but we don't script everything like that. This is my point. This is my point. This is my point. Options at 23. And then we're gonna do a quick mock draft after. Some options at 23. What would you like to be addressed? There are any guys that you've and again, we always preface it by saying these are general opinions of guys. I could love Quinny Pay now. Going to his film, like, damn. Like I remember people talking about Rashawn Gary. I went to his film, was like, I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole in the first round. Like, I don't like that guy.
Who the hell is Rashawn Garrett? I don't even know who that is.
Rashawn Gary, the DN from Michigan.
Gary. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
I thought you said Garrett, like Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing too, because like, all right, so obviously the Jets roster is flawed. It's got some serious holes. Serious hole at corner. Guard is a huge question mark. Linebacker depth is a huge question mark. So we got some serious problems, no doubt about it. But I feel hesitant saying, who I want to see them take at 23, because a lot of that is so dependent on who's there. I would love to see one of these wide receivers slide and the Jets maybe move up to get one of these guys. Cause I feel like I've seen enough of some of these guys, Smith, Waddle, Chase. And if you even want to consider Pitts to be a wide receiver, which I know some people are considering him that, I feel like I've seen enough of those guys to know that if any one of those guys slid for whatever reason, I would like the Jets to be kind of aggressive to go up to think about getting one of those guys. Because you're talking now like, okay, maybe you've added a legit number 1, 2, which I know I kind of sound like a hypocrite now, because I said earlier, I'm of the belief that I don't think you need a real number 1, but I really want to help this kid Wilson out because, Crowder going to be here next year. I don't know that, and even if we could have Crowder this year and this other guy this year, then now you're talking like between Cole and all the other guys, you got 4 or 5 like literally legit options out there. You go from having this dog shit wide receiver core last year to having like a potentially like really, really good one. You're talking upper echelon. So I would like to see that. I mean, I don't know are there even any good guard options in the 23 range? I mean, help me out here. I'm not a draft guy.
Yeah, I forget the name that the person said before. I think it's so there's some guys there. Again, we don't really know how the draft's going to fall. I think people do too many mock drafts and they think that's exactly what the NFL thinks. It's not true. But like based on what I've seen, like some options, you hope obviously a Vera Tucker falls. Tevin Jenkins or somebody's talking, or people are talking that he might be able to transition to guard to be an elite guard, even as a tackle prospect. I think Jalen Mayfield had a bad pro day, but some people are talking about him transitioning into guard. Wyatt Davis is a guy, again, he might be number 38 on some freaking mock drafts, but maybe the Jets like him at 23. Like, you don't really know. So there are some options there. And in terms of receiver, me personally, I wouldn't like that, just because, I think that linebacker, corner, and guard are way too big of needs to take a receiver who, how much is he going to play with a guy
Joe,
like
the draft is not about needs per se.
So there's a area between just taking the best player available and drafting for need. Again, I always fall into the best available at a position of need. So if Christian Darrisaw is there, or is that the D tackle? Who's a D tackle?
I think Darrisaw
is a tackle.
Yeah.
Is a tackle. Okay, so whoever the defensive tackle is at 23, if he's there, you taking him, Kyle, because he's better than maybe you have rated.
No.
Okay, so
God no.
It's at a position of need. So for me personally, what I feel like should happen, or like the guys I'm hoping for at 23, I would say a guy like Owusu Koromoa, linebacker, safety type hybrid who could definitely play well for the Jets. Some people have talked about Michael Parsons falling. I could see that. Ideally, he's
not falling to 23.
We don't know. Yeah, but we don't know that.
Miles Jack did fall to 20.
Exactly. Like, you don't. Again, these are what I'm like reaching for. Like, this is what I want. Like JOK. You have Parsons, but ideally it's Vera Tucker, it's Tevin Jenkins. I want a guard. Now, do I think just singularly that corner is a bigger need than guard? Yes, but considering the rookie quarterback coming in, go guard. Go 2 guards in a row. Get freaking Vera Tucker and Wyatt Davis at 34. Like, I'm fine with that. I really couldn't. I don't care. But yeah, I'm hoping for one of those guys. Farley, Horn is there. Maybe Greg Newsome if they like him a lot. But I'm hoping for one of the positions I need. Now, could I, or like if they
have
you
watched any of these corners? Because I'm really curious. Seems like there's so much divergence of opinion between like the top 3-ish.
Yeah, again, preface it by saying I'm not. I know the people's like opinions about like how they're all top guys, but I couldn't tell you like why. Like, I know Greg Newsome is a more twitchy zone guy, which might be a really good fit. Or like maybe Surtain is more of a man press guy with Alabama. But yeah,
I was a fan of his dad, even though he was a Dolphin.
I'd have to get more into it. But Yeah, I would say Vera Tucker's probably my number one. But then again, could I see the Jets who had a big need at edge rusher the last couple of years? Let's say Quinny Pay is there and they love him at 23. And then you have Quinny Pay next to Lawson, Rankins, and Franklin Myers and Quentin Williams. Like, that would be ridiculous. But ideally, again, it's a guard or a corner.
PFF likes Quiddy Pay for whatever that's worth.
I don't whatever. Tevin Jenkins.
I will say one thing about PFF. Like, I feel like there are some positions they're better at grading than others. And I do feel like when it's pass rushers and edge rushers, their grading seems to be a little bit more based in reality, as far as I can see, than certain other things.
Yeah. But
then again, they were really high on like this guy from Tennessee a couple of years back who the Eagles drafted, who's kind of just sucked in the NFL.
Oh, the edge rusher?
Yeah, I'm forgetting his name. He had like 20-something sacks or whatever.
Barnett?
Yeah, Derek Barnett. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you always have to take it with a grain of salt, but he tested like shit though. Like, so he was kind of guy who had production numbers in college, but for me, if you have really shitty production numbers, you're going to have a really tough time being a good edge rusher in the NFL.
Somebody's saying that it's not a good short-term strategy, not long-term. There's no long-term benefit to having a guard on a 5-year cheap contract over a corner. It's not, I'm not going to say it's that big of a difference to, we have Vera Tucker as an A-, but Greg Newsom's a B+, but that long-term contract for a corner, like we're not worrying about that right now. The Jets are still paying freaking Tremaine Johnson like that. That's coming off the cap. Like,
the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
What was Greg Newsom's measurables? I'm curious. He's a freak, supposedly.
I think he's like 6 foot, 6'1".
Well, someone just said that in the chat.
No, I think he's like 6'1". I think he's a freak in terms of like his like burst and like his athletic ability. He's a good zone guy apparently. So again, people will literally look at a review of this guy. Like, they'll go on like PFN or Draft Network or PFF and like look at a review and then like repeat that verbatim, like they know exactly what they're talking about. I don't like to do that.
By the way, so many like bigger corners, like ever since the Legion of Boom, where they had Sherman 6'3" and they had that other dude who was like 6'4" and had a couple good years. People have been trying to draft these bigger corners and try to get like their Legion of Boom press heavy guys, and just so many of them have been busts.
Somebody asked us, NRL just came in and says, does this, he said, hey fellas, Pete from Sydney, 49ers fan, is Wilson your guy? You just missed a very long conversation, my friend.
Yeah, he's the guy. And if that's who you guys want, you guys got a very little shot of that happening. But Wilson's whether it's Fields or Lance for you guys, that seems to be, I mean, Fields, I could say that's probably be a pretty good option. But if you guys take Mac Jones, oh man,
no,
like
Lance
like
or
drafting
Fields?
like Kirk Cousins, maybe a slightly higher ceiling Kirk Cousins if you draft Mac Jones, I guess.
Yeah, like he'd be like an average-ish quarterback. I think for 49ers, I would be looking for Fields or Lance all day. I think Fields is like the guy who can immediately come in and be relatively successful, even though just based on the offensive transition from like a pro style to what he did in college, it might take a little bit longer. But Lance, you develop him a little bit, and I think Lance can be good from what I've seen, again, which is relatively small.
And I think Lance is a better runner than Justin Fields. Just saying.
So Javid asked, seen some fans keep talking about Travis Etienne or Najee Harris if they saw that 34. Where's the highest you'd address a running back for this year's? Listen,
I would draft either one of those at 34.
I could not disagree with you more.
You wouldn't take any of those at 34?
No way. The Jets have way too many needs to take a running back at that point. You need offensive line.
The draft is not about needs, Joe.
It's about drafting positions of need, or the highest rated position player of positions of need, in my opinion. Okay, so what if you have a guy like Rashad Bateman sitting there at 34 and he's an A-, but Wyatt Davis is a B+ for you? Like you're gonna take the receiver over the guard, like the Jets.
What if none of those guys are there at 34? But Etienne or Najee is
trade down. I don't want a running back on a team that doesn't need a running back. Running back is like the final piece for like a team like the Buccaneers at 32.
Okay, but can a good running back and a good rushing attack help a young quarterback out?
Would an offensive guard help more, or
what if that guard's not that good though?
Well, I guess I would rather trade down, take a linebacker. There's so many more positions I would take.
I'm here for the trading down.
Guard, It's like Le'Veon Bell.
You can't, but
And
I don't want to see them force a pick of need though.
So I was hyped up, and I don't think they have to force it. I think to a certain extent, yeah, you don't want to force it, but I think there's enough there at the end of the second or end of the first, early second to draft some guys. But that's the problem that we talked about with free agency is that he forced his hand in somewhat to take a guard early. Like you can't have Alex Lewis starting for Zach Wilson.
Oh God.
So
no.
if you have to reach a little bit for Davis, who might be a B over your ETN, who's an A-, you got it. Like people might not agree with me, but I am not taking a running back in the first 2-3 rounds. I'm just not doing it. You have way too many things that are needs. Now, if you have Gainwell sitting there in the third round at pick 96 or whatever the hell the Jets are, and he's an A- versus whoever.
Is that
B,
North Carolina running back?
No, that you're talking about Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. He's okay. From Memphis, Gainwell. Like different story, but in terms of drafting that high, I cannot justify taking a running back in the first 2 rounds. Third round, maybe sort of consider it, but absolutely no way at 34. I would be pretty furious. I'm not gonna lie. That's Le'Veon Bell. Like, was I relatively excited because the Jets suck and they don't have any Highland talent? Like, yes, but then like looking back at like my thought process, you have a running back behind a shit offensive line. What's the point? It is, and I'll argue with people to the end of time. A running back is the least important position in the NFL. Do I want one with a premium pick? No. If the Jets were 11-5 last year and didn't have a running back and they can make a Super Bowl run, go ahead. But they need way too much depth. They need a lot of things to take a running back that high. I would be pretty furious. So we said, what about taking Jimmy to Zach?
I doubt you're going to be furious if they draft Najee Harris at 30.
I will not be happy. Depending on who's on the board, I will not be. You're
not going to be furious. You're going to put on his tape and you'll be like, yeah, this guy's good, man. I'll
put out his film and say he's good, but he's not what we needed.
Exactly why you won't be furious, though.
No, I'll not be happy.
You're going to start looking at the upside and you're going to be like, oh, man.
The Jets are not taking Jimmy G to sit behind for Wilson to sit behind for a year. Absolutely not.
Ugh.
Kyle, we have a decent amount of time left. We can go after 9 a little bit. Now, do you want to try to redeem ourselves with a mock draft? Want to do that real quick? Yeah. Final mock draft of the season. Not mock draft 37.0. This is mock draft 2.0 for me and you.
What if the Jaguars take Wilson in our mock draft?
And we take freaking
Lawrence, right?
Oh, if they take Lawrence, then we take Lawrence and we act like it's Wilson because it's not going to happen, or we restart the whole mock. Yeah. Like people talking about the O-line. I'd rather have a decent offensive lineman this draft, just a decent one, than an elite running back. Like that's legitimate how I feel. Like the Jets need.
Dude, I mean, there's so many mid to even late round running backs that if the scheme and the offensive line is good,
and look at this system,
and even if you have a quarterback that's good, like the passing game is relatively effective, so they can't stack the box all game. You can manufacture, good productive rushing seasons. It's happened so much. I completely agree with Joe. Running back is, other than special teams, the least valuable position.
Look at the guys with the one in the systems recently.
But Joe, I'm just going to give you a little bit of pushback because you have tried to use this point to degrade Tannehill a little bit. And I'm not acting like Tannehill's elite. He's not. He is not. But you're that offense and Arthur Smith, you downplayed all those guys. You're like, oh, but that Titans offense is all Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that Najee
is Derrick Henry the best running back in the NFL?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so is that a fair comparison for a guy at the end of the first round?
But not Najee Harris seems to be a better prospect coming out.
I don't give it. It's coming out. I don't care. It's Derrick.
I'm just saying, Henry. But what if he lives up to some of his potential and you got him at 34?
And I don't agree with that statement because I said that the running game was a big part of Tannehill. The offensive line has always been decent. They have the tackle, whatever the hell his name is, everybody likes. They had a decent offensive line always. I don't think I necessarily said Derrick Henry made the offense. I said the running game, which has to do with the offensive line as well. So I'm gonna push back on your pushback, my friend.
Okay.
But let's see. Okay. I'm trying to think. If Harris was like 94 overall grade, but linebacker, O-line, or corner 91,
Hey, we got a super chat. From Jared Lees.
The best Jets talk show there is, and it's not even close. One, I really appreciate that. It means a lot because I think people who recognize that we actually break down the film instead of just saying, oh, I heard this from this guy and just put it out as your own, or people who literally couldn't even tell you what a cover 2 defense is, like minus like, oh, there's 2 guys high, but like, what is it actually? You know, like, and those are the people that people listen to their opinions, but regardless.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. We appreciate you a lot. Henry carries that offense, yes, but it's also a decent running game or a decent offensive line too. The offensive line's not trash. It's not like Derrick Henry. Like, what would Derrick Henry be behind the Jets' offensive line last year or 2 years ago?
He'd not be nearly as good.
Exactly. Okay, so
no, I'm not. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think that so there's truth in what both of us are saying. You keep saying, okay, trade down. Well, what if you don't get a good option to trade down? You don't want to just, so Mike McCagnon, he traded down sometimes. And this is one of the reasons why we missed out on Chris Godwin, because of Mike McCagnon trading down too much. Mm-hmm. Maybe he even passed on him. I'm not, but he used to do this thing where he would trade back just 10 slots or whatever. And he would get like shit in return. Like he got such bad compensation to trade back. So you can't just look to trade back just for the sake of trading back and then pass up on much more superior talent. And at the same time, if that guard prospect who you like, and yes, it's a bigger need, and yes, it's a more valuable position, you can't just force something based on need. That's just where I'm coming at it from.
But so I get it. Like if it's like an A+ player versus a B player, but there's too many players I see, like, again, general view of these players who will be there, who I like a lot more than a Harris or ETN, who would be more effective. Somebody said that you draft offensive or guards in the late rounds to build it up, and the Ravens didn't do it high. So you don't want a Quentin Nelson, you don't want a Brandon Sheriff if those guys were there. Obviously they were there in the top 10, but
but the Ravens have also
draft good positions when you do draft good positions. Like
Jonathan Ogden was a really early pick for the Ravens. They took guy Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley's one of the best tackles in the league. Ravens took him at what?
Different.
Definitely top 10.
9. I think it was 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Ravens will draft a good offensive lineman early when they see one.
That's too much of a blanket statement because you don't know who was there when they were picking. You don't know what linemen were coming out. If there's a really good guard at 23, you take that really good guard, because guard is an important position in the NFL. It is. It offensive line in general. Like people talk about, tackles, and tackles are the most important, but guard is also really important. It's offensive line. You're splitting hairs. Guards you can help more than tackles. If you have a bad tackle, it hurts your team more than a bad guard. You can help the guard out more, but a good guard is Quentin Nelson making an impact on the Colts? I think so. So, Pats have continued to trade back a lot and miss on some good players, which has been the reason their drafts haven't been good recently. Yeah, they're overrated in terms of their drafting and their front office ability, I think, in my opinion. But Kyle, let's get into the mock draft. We'll do normal speed. We'll do 7 rounds. We'll see if Travis Etienne is there and see if you are going to take him at 34.
I like Najee better than him, to be honest.
I'd have to watch more. Okay,
so would I, but just based on what I watched.
I know in this mock we could make sure I click the Jets. We could trade up at a certain point. Like let's say if Vera Tucker's there at like 20, you want to try to trade up, just let me know. I probably won't trade up a lot because that's going to take more time. But
I've never used this before. Not this particular one.
Oh, really? We're not taking a trade.
No, fuck you, Atlanta. Kick rocks.
For 2 seconds and a first? No. Okay. So reject, obviously. I think we're taking Zach Wilson, correct? We're gonna do a combination of like what we think they do and what we'll do.
Yes, kinda.
Zach Wilson. Lance to the Niners. Is that Niners fan still here? Would you be happy with that? Pitts to Atlanta.
Christian Darrisaw at 8. Ooh.
Chase to, is that the Dolphins traded back up? Which I think the Dolphins trading back up really means they want one of the big 3 like playmakers with Pitts, Waddle, Smith, or Chase. That's 4.
Yeah. 3 offers.
3 offers. So I don't want to trade down too much in my opinion. So let's see I don't think this is too big of a trade down. Let's see the next one.
Parsons is on the board.
26, 28.
Wait, I didn't see the 20.
26 and 59 for 23 and 86. Or let's see what this one is.
All right, but now listen.
That's too far down. We're rejecting this right off the bat, right? 49.
Yeah,
I'm not
reject that. Reject that. Yeah, definitely. All right. So here's my question to you.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of Parsons have you watched, and do you like him?
Again, we're talking general. We're being like the other fans are now with these mock drafts. Like, let's be honest. Like, I've seen enough on him, but I haven't watched his film of Penn State and actually broken down his film. So do I see he's an athletic linebacker?
So from the highlights I've seen, it's like, oh man.
So,
but you know what? Darren Lee looked pretty good on highlights too, and that didn't
exactly.
work out
so this is my thought process right now. I want to kind of go through it more than we did last time. Last time we rushed it. Right now, is Micah Parsons the best player on the board? Yes. Is linebacker a big need? Yes. But can I trade down a few spots and pick up a bigger need in Newsome and get more picks?
Yeah. And
is that a risk we're willing to take right now?
And they also got Bateman on the board too, which, he might be fun in the offense too. I don't know what you think about him. You'd rather take Newsome than Bateman, but what if both are
gone? It's a risk. Are we taking that risk for a position?
Pick 26. Take the offer with Washington.
Trade down 3 spots and hope Newsome's not gone.
Yeah, reject the Saints offer.
We're gonna pull a Joe Douglas of last year at the Mims thing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, we're rejecting that. We're gonna take this.
Yes.
So we get up to now. We have 2 first-round picks. We're trading a late second or late third.
Yeah, that's fine.
Newsome's on the board. I think at this point, I don't. Definitely rejecting that.
I trust your.
I'm taking Newsome. It's too big of a position of need right now to skip on.
They might want to take him
for just a late or a 4th-round pick. I'm not skipping on a massive position of need like Newsome. I'd say I'm taking Newsome. You agree with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Newsome's the 26th overall pick, and we moved up from the 3rd to the 2nd round. One of those picks. So,
well, Najee's not here, so we're not going to have our.
This is too. We're not taking this, right?
No.
And we're not taking that. We're taking a guy here.
No, they want us to slide back too far.
Who's on the boards? So, okay. So my concern here is now. This is what we talked about with the free agents. The thing is, I feel like Joe Douglas forced his hand here. I don't know if you agree with me. And Jalen Phillips is here. If at his ceiling, people think he could be elite, but he's had some injury issues. He almost quit football, like retired from football.
Oh, he doesn't love football. He doesn't fit into our. We're building the best football culture in sports, man.
So guard is a massive need for the Jets. Wyatt Davis is really like Trey Smith. Don't think he's a great fit. Will he be there when the Jets pick in the early 3rd round? Don't think so. Even will Leatherwood be there? Transition to guard? I don't think so. Are we willing to take the risk with guard right now to not getting a guard like we did last time? I think we skip a couple of these guys up top, only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys and take Wyatt Davis. Would you agree with that? Like Phillips would be a great pick. I think Freiermuth would be a great pick. But I think this is the position Joe Douglas put himself in where he might be taking a B+ player.
So you're telling me he can fit our scheme.
Okay. So
based on what you know.
So this is so people talking about Landon Dickerson over him. Landon Dickerson's farther down. He's a tackle. Maybe he could slide in the guard. I don't know enough. And Tevin Jenkins just went too. That sucks. Now with Davis, from what I've heard, is some people don't think he's a great fit for the outside zone system. I want to counter that with saying, while I have been hyping on the outside zone thing or harping on it, with the John Benton coaching clinic we both watched, took notes on, he's more of, and again, this is really simplifying it, but taking guys where they're going, with reading guys' leverage. Are they crashing inside? Are they stacking? Are they widening? And taking that guy where he's already going. So yeah, you want to be able to move, but it's not an outside zone system where you really need to completely try to reach guys all the time. So you could take guys outside. So while he might not be a fit for a offensive system in terms of an outside zone that wants to reach guys consistently, for a Jets system with the outside zone, there's different ways to teach every system. That's going to take guys more where they're going. I think Wyatt Davis could be a fit. That's my argument, and I think that we should take him based on the massive need that they have at guard. You're only skipping a few spots.
Okay, yeah, take him.
Does the chat agree with this? I hope so. Now you have the 2 biggest needs the Jets have. You took them. Now, if there's anybody on the board you really see that we want to trade up for, let me know, Kyle. Coming up, you can see them both at the same time.
Okay.
I don't see anybody I really, really want. Ronnie Perkins is a guy that I know Jeremiah has pretty damn high. So maybe if he falls to us, he's a guy who's in up. Never mind.
Were you talking about Leatherwood maybe? I mean, I know that we're a little bit higher on.
Oh, we traded back up. Okay, so now we have a situation where This is from our trade back. We traded up from the third round to the second round. Now we have an end of the second round pick. We're not taking D tackles. I think the chat would murder us. I just argued about the running back thing. My thought here is either a linebacker. Again, I'm not sure, like Nick Bolton, like is he more of a 3-4 guy, 4-3, 3-4 guy? We're going to assume he's more of a 4-3. If he's not, then it is what it is. But linebacker's a need. You take a tackle, but you have Fant. Molden, I know, is a guy who's more of a slot corner. The Jets don't have a slot corner, so do you want to double address a need, which I think you could do at corner? I think that would be smart for the Jets to draft 2 corners, 2 offensive linemen type of draft, double down on both positions. Or do you take a linebacker, which right now your starting linebacking core is Mosley, Davis, and Cashman. Would you rather have a linebacker?
Based on need, I'd rather have a corner if we're just talking need. And
even with Greg Newsome here?
Yes. Yeah. Because we got only one corner that we really, see a decent amount of upside in. But he's got an injury history.
So a lot of people in the chat like Javonte Williams. Again, it's positional value. I like Javonte Williams too, and people are talking about him being an end of the first round, early second round guy too. But is he more of an impact? Is Javonte Williams more of an impact on the system with the offensive line than Blake Cashman would be a negative to the defense if he has to play? And that's your consider.
Blake Cashman is a big negative for the defense.
A big negative. So is Javonte Williams more of a positive to the offense and
He's
Cashman's a negative for the defense?
Matter of
I don't think so personally.
Cashman is a liability if he's on the roster, period. Because
exactly. So you have Coleman, you have Ty Johnson and Josh Adams last year, who when they played were pretty effective. So you might go from I'm really generalizing here, but from 4.5 yards to carry to 5 with Javonte Williams, is that a bigger upgrade than having, again, a guy like Bolton or Warner over a guy like Cashman? And you can argue a corner too, but now you're talking about Cashman versus Guidry. And when Guidry was playing last year, he actually played relatively well. So would you have Cashman or Guidry playing? Even though corner's it's a bigger positional value. But are you more comfortable with Guidry at corner or Cashman as the linebacker, knowing that Saleh has a system where he likes to play linebackers?
But dude, we still can sign like KJ Wright or something though.
But we haven't. We're going right now. That's the.
But we could still sign him after the draft.
But we don't know that. So okay. So we'll go with whatever you're feeling. Because I'd
rather draft a corner here unless I know this linebacker is really good.
Okay, whatever. We're going to the chat. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going Bolton. He's going Molden. Don't give me Javonte Williams. The first guy to get 3 votes in the chat, that's what we're going to draft. Give me who wants Bolton or Warner and who wants Molden at this pick. That's the argument right now. If people can go. People are talking about St. Brown. Yeah, again, that's your 4th guy. Linebacker and corner are massive needs. Drop some. Let's see if they want a linebacker or a corner right here. Or is nobody going to respond and make myself look like an idiot? I got 1 Bolton. So you're more comfortable with Davis, or you're more comfortable with Cashman, or signing a guy after the draft, which honestly we could do.
There are some linebackers that listen. You're talking. What are your options to sign in corner,
dude?
Richard, you're not getting Richard Sherman. You were making it seem like getting the guy from the Chargers. His name is slipping my mind at the moment. I got what Joe Biden's got. Yeah. Yeah. I don't like. He was Casey Hayward's.
Kyle, I'm not gonna lie. You're outvoted right here, my friend.
Well, then I guess we gotta go.
We got 1 vote for St. Brown. We got 1, 2, 3 for Bolton, 1 for Warner, which is linebackers. So I'll count that. That's 4 for Bolton. 5, 6. It's like 6-2 right now. So
hey, look what I said about Cashman in the chat. Stop hating on him,
dude. Kyle? I know that film review was hilarious to you because I literally it was like the first play I watched, he missed a tackle. Like, what is going? Okay, what's the? So when is our next pick?
It's got to be early. Yeah.
Look who we could take. Elijah Molden, the corner you just wanted.
All right. Yeah, we're not. Fuck the Bills.
Okay, so screw the Bills. Not taking the Rams either. I don't want any picks from next year. I'm not doing that right now.
Yeah.
So now the argument, okay, is
By the way, your guy probably would have been here too, by the way.
I don't think so. So now the argument is people talk about Javonte Williams. Now you're going to the third round with a running back who it could be a first-round guy versus Molden versus who I would argue is a need in the Jets offense is Brevin Jordan. Do you want a tight end there? You're probably not going to go with the tight end, right? We're going to go
no.
Williams versus Molden. Man, Williams is tempting in the third round because people are talking about him like he'd be a late first-round guy. Some people like him over some of the other running backs. Like he's a first running back off the board. So this is your time to shine.
This is so hard to say when you haven't really watched a lot of these guys. And like I keep saying, I'm not a draft guy. So I promise you, whoever the Jets draft, I'm going to watch a lot of them at that point. I would go the corner right here, though, to be honest. If this was Najee Harris, I mean, I'd be talking way different, but that's obviously fantasy land.
Okay. So I think
I'd go the corner though, because
I like Javonte more,
a big need. But
corner is a bigger need in a much more important position. Like Javonte might be great for 2, 3, 4 years with the Jets, but are they even going to be competing by then? And would you rather have Guidry starting at corner or, a late second, early third round guy in Molden, who apparently has a high ceiling from what I've read, and draft a running back? Like, listen, we can get running back in the second, third round next year or the year after that, like corner is a huge need. So this is a hard choice, but going into the year, just based on the 49er system and the Shanahan system.
Don't forget, we re-signed Josh Adams,
you have Tevin Coleman, you have
P. Ryan,
you have Ty Johnson.
Like,
and look at these
guys, like this rotation stuff. Like, dude, no one knew who the fuck Raheem Mostert was, and he got into a good system, And by the way,
Mostert, what's his name too?
And if we're being honest, the 49ers offensive line, and I'm talking even before Trent Williams, because Trent Williams, he was only there last year. Mm-hmm. In terms of straight up talent, they weren't that good. It was just the scheme mostly. I mean, like they had serviceable guys on the offensive line. Don't get me wrong, but those we're not talking about like elite guys there. Mm-hmm. But this scheme can produce good runners. So
yeah, you have guys like McKinnon, Breda, like they recycle guys in and out of there for a reason. Like I don't think like this is kind of like our opinion with the Jets. Like I don't think the Jets would take a running back here just based on positional value. And they need a corner. So we kind of have a lot of guys going back and forth. But yeah, we have 4 running backs. Like I think Javonte Williams is exciting. I'm going Molden. I would agree with you. And now now your corners are Bryce Hall, Molden, and Greg Newsome. Like young group might have their bumps in the road, but I think it's pretty good. So far we have 2 corners, a guard, a quarterback. What's our other huge needs? I would say another offensive lineman, tight end.
Yes.
I think they could add another edge. A later round receiver, a running back. Like we have some areas we can.
Hey, this dude, I keep hearing people talk about this guy, Quinn Miners. Oh, he just got taken.
What is an edge? But like, let's see.
No, he's a interior offensive lineman.
Oh, a lot of people.
They have him listed as a center, but I see maybe he could play some guard too.
A lot of people talk about like the Jets and like, oh, they need this edge rusher. And I'd be like Quincy Roche, and he's like 245 pounds. Like the Jets need D ends.
Yeah, I'll tell you this right now. I see a guy named Ardarius Washington. We're immediately not taking him based on the last Ardarius that we took.
So now the question is, do you? Man. So do you want to trade down 4 spots to move up basically 40, or do you see a guy you really like? Gainwell in the 4th round. Apparently people really, really like Gainwell. So if you want to address running back now with, I think who's a fan favorite of some Jets fans, do you want to draft him or do you want to trade down 4 spots to get up 40 later?
Well, what do you think about some of these other guys right here?
Chad, again, I don't think they
what about this guy, Tutu Atwell? I keep hearing his name. He played with Mekhi Becton.
What the hell does that mean? He's a receiver.
I know. I'm just saying they played on offense.
Return specialist.
That was a joke, man. It was return specialist.
I would say at this point, a legit could be long-term running back over a 3rd, 4th receiver. This year and next year, I would say Gainwell is
okay,
my pick.
Fine. Then take him. Take him then.
I don't know if people agree with that. Tutu Atwell.
At this
I
point,
just
I'm
feel
not.
like a lot of the mid-round guys, a lot of the mid-round guys from receivers that I see, like when I read like their little scouting reports, again, I can completely disagree once I watch them, or a lot of like the more like shifty slot guys like Shi Smith and Marlon Williams, like all these guys I see late. But I'm gonna go Gainwell here.
All right,
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we have running back, guard, corner, linebacker. We need an edge. We need a tight end. We need a receiver late, right?
Yeah.
Maybe another tackle. Let's
Oh,
see if there's an edge here.
Kyle Trask is still on the board. Yuck.
You
You ever
want to
watch
back
him,
up?
man? No. He's ugly to watch.
Let's see. Now we're kind of going like more like BPA. Like I can even see the Jets taking a safety that they really like later. You know, because Joyner's here for a year. Marcus May's here for a
people were
year.
hyping up Sean Wade as a potential first-round pick.
Yeah,
At one point in the season,
he struggled a lot last year. At the end of the year. Ooh, this might be something I'm willing to do. Get another pick this year. Screw the picks next year.
Do it.
So the only thing I will combat that with is Schwartz is like a. Well, can we hide it? I don't know. Schwartz is a guy who is like the burners of burners, and he can fit in this offense.
Is he white?
As that burner, is he white? I don't know.
I'm asking because of his last name, but you're telling me he's a burner.
Home hunt, yeah. They were saying he's gonna run like a high 4.2, like legitimately. So, would you want a guy who's a deep threat, or would you want to trade down and get an extra pick?
We do need a burner type of guy in this offense.
I think this is a good pick right here, to be honest.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, or would other people agree with that? Sample, I'm not taking a deep tackle.
I can't say about him specifically, but we do need that element to our offense because. Crowder's obviously not your deep threat. Mims could, he can win on vertical balls. You're telling me that's not Corey Davis's game. Keelan Cole. I mean, what did Keelan Cole? He's not a burner.
No, he's not.
So
I'll take Schwartz. I'm comfortable with Schwartz.
So take him then.
We have guard, receiver, running back. We need a tight end. I would say we need an edge, right? I think those are the two big needs. Maybe we don't. I don't know if we have enough picks for that.
Is this guy? Did someone say Schwartz is 155? That's small.
Is he?
What was his first name?
Anthony
Schwartz.
155.
Somebody's 155, according to somebody in the chat. This dude doesn't look 155.
Look up his weight. It's pretty easy. Google's a really cool thing, Kyle. You just Google Anthony Schwartz weight, and I think it'll pop up.
He's got a Robbie Anderson type body.
Would you take Robbie Anderson as your third receiver or fourth receiver?
He's according to Wikipedia, he's 6'1", 175.
Okay,
and he's like a track star.
Yeah, but as a deep threat, as that guy in our offense, I'm okay with that for right now. You need a deep threat. So Tutu Atwell is 155. Matt's saying. Okay, so here I'm feeling like we need a guard, we need a tight end, we need an edge. Those are like the three biggest positions I would say. We could trade down, or we could do a trade down. I don't really see a ton of guys I like right here. Maybe like this guard. I don't know really what he's about.
Dude, this Indiana wide receiver has got an amazing name. We got to think about taking that guy.
Short, squat lineman with above average movement skills and large upside as a developmental guy, as a guard. We need backup.
What did it say about the movement skills?
Above average movement skills.
We can use some linemen with some movement skills.
I don't know who this is exactly, who's doing this report, but do you want to do that, or want to try to trade down a little bit?
What about WAP?
WAP, this guy.
Yeah, that's an amazing.
How many receiver?
We got to look into that.
Sixth receiver.
I'm just kidding.
I'm about to say, what the hell is wrong with you today?
What's wrong with you? You don't got no sense of a joke right now.
Trade down, or do you want to take a guard?
Let's take the guard, man.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
We got to beef up we got to do competition, man. May the best man win.
Now you have Moore versus Van Roten versus Clark, and if not, one of them are backup with Feeney. That's okay. Tackle is I think tackle, somebody said, is an underrated backup need. But right now there's really not a tackle. Maybe this guy we'll take him.
Okay.
We have Clark already. Yeah, but what about, he didn't even play last year. I think I like him too, but we didn't get any trade. Oh, we have another pick right here or what? No. I don't know if we have another pick, to be honest. We need an edge.
No, we got to have another pick.
Do we?
Maybe not in this round, but
I hope we do. If so, I think we need a tight end or an edge.
Joe Douglas loves the 6th rounders. We got a pick in the 6th round.
Oh, this is us right here. Okay, beginning of the 6th round. I wish we could trade back and get another pick though.
We can propose a trade.
We could propose a trade.
So do it then.
Yeah, but okay. So my argument with edge is like, would you like to have another guy? Yes. Do you need another guy with everybody they have right now? I would say no. Unless we propose a trade,
if I'm drafting an edge guy this late, he's got to have like really
traits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you're a guy who you're thinking you can develop, because I'm not drafting like Michael Sam right here. Michael Sam, like I know he had production in college, but he had no get off. You're not going to win like that in the NFL when you don't have elite traits.
Yeah, this tackle is a guard guy. Again, I'm going off these reports. I might not agree with them at all. To be honest, I might not agree with them. Maybe I do. My thought is right here. So I've seen LeConte higher in some other mock drafts than 191. The Jets, they have the 3 safeties, but I would argue tight end is a bigger need.
Trey McKitty. That's a pretty good name.
McKitty. Effective blocker and a pass catcher. If he's a blocker, if it said he's the only receiving guy, like only a flex out Y option, I wouldn't be happy with it. But a stout pass catcher who can block.
What's the option that this guy is even better than Wesco?
We had to take somebody.
Yeah.
God, we already have two quarter. We already have 2 quarter cornerbacks. I've seen Vincent higher too in other drafts, but let's see if we want to trade down and just take shots in the dark later.
Sure. What about kickers? Are there any kickers here?
There's one
we should take a kicker.
Sorry if I'm going too fast for people, but I could say this.
We both agreed that we don't like the free agent option. Oh wait, Dax Milne. He played with Wilson. Dax Milne.
Oh yeah, he did. You're right.
That's number 5. He's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's that big of a pick.
Take him.
All right, we're gonna trade down. Hold on. Marlon Williams, the guy I've seen a lot higher too, like another yak guy. Is there a kicker? I think there's a kicker from like Miami or something, right? Yeah, there you go, Jose.
No. Take Milne and then we'll take him.
Well, let's trade down. I think this is our last pick. I'm pretty sure this is our last pick because we traded up our late round pick, or I think.
Well, all right. So we got to propose a trade. We only want to slide back a little bit, though.
Yeah, but who the hell do we know whose picks are here? Like,
we got to get a sucker. We got to get an idiot team. What about the Texans?
The Jaguars? Texans are dumb,
and they're desperate for picks. Call them.
Oh, we have 226 too. But let's get.
So screw them. Let's get
186 for 203 and 233. Your guy is far down the board who you like right there.
No, Joe, what are you talking? So you want to trade 186 and then we're going to get these
for 2 7ths. Okay. It's only a 17 spot.
So you want to have 3 more picks in this draft instead of 2? Is what you're saying, right? All right, fine.
Yeah, why not?
Fine. Let's do it. Fine. Let's call another team.
Let's see a dumb team. The Jaguars.
Yeah, they're dumb. Okay.
Nope, they don't have what we want. Who's another dumb team? The Raiders. They're pretty stupid.
Mike Mayock. Let's give Mayock a call.
It's not letting me click on them.
They might not have any more picks. Maybe
the Browns. Hold on. I didn't do this. I'm an idiot. Next. Nope. Who has multiple 7ths? Browns?
Probably a team who gets a lot of comp picks.
You want to go 186 to 211?
But are we confident that Milne's going to be there 20-something picks later?
He was like 220 or something like that.
All right, fine.
I'm taking the risk. Let's see if we can get this. If not, we'll probably just move on. One more. We're doing one more.
All right. Call the Bengals. They're dumb.
I'm going to say that's my one team left. I was going to say is relatively stupid. They're not going to take this. Hold on. One more try. We're going to. They have a connection, him and the Ravens. No, he has a connection also with the.
Hey, we made a lot of deals.
Bunch of other teams.
Oh, wait.
These two.
Yeah, they're desperate.
There we go. Okay. We two sevens for 6. I'll take it. We're resuming. We need some more positions. People want tight ends. People want maybe a safety. Safety in Indiana. Yeah, safety. I think that's an underrated need too, Javid. If he's still here, I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't know if we're gonna have May next year.
Oh yeah, Indiana. Isn't this the guy who gave problems to frickin' don't go. If
You're
he's
talking
there,
about Justin Fields. Justin Fields.
Yeah, Fields, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was him, but he did struggle in that game.
No, he just went. Oh, that's so brutal. Okay.
They're going to take Milne. I swear they're going to
take. They just took him. No! one pick before, or two picks before. No, 3 picks.
Zach Wilson is pissed at us right now.
Okay. So, damn it. I can't believe that him and the freaking, what's his name went. I forget the other guy. So I was talking about tackle, backup tackle. Tight end.
Sure.
Tight end. I think it's a bigger need. Spot.
Yeah, but we also,
smart, tough tight end. He sounds like a Joe Douglas guy.
Carrie Angeline.
Carrie Angeline, the next Gronk.
We got some interesting names in this draft.
We're taking. We need a developmental tight end. We're taking an Angeline. Now.
Yeah, I tell you what, man.
Oh, we have the next pick. What about so Marlon Williams is a guy I saw much higher than this.
By the way, UCF
receiver.
UCF, if I'm not mistaken, the Bills receiver that they took in the 4th round last year had a pretty good year with the Bills, was from UCF.
We have 2 picks left. Do you want to take this guy who I've seen higher? Do you want to reach a little bit maybe for safety? The Jets need a 4th safety.
Take the guy that you're familiar with.
Yeah, I've seen Marlon Williams higher. So we have 3. We took 2 later round wide receivers. Oh, we're the next pick too. Wow, we got a couple.
That's interesting.
Do we round this out with that kicker?
Oh yeah, you got to take the kicker.
Want to take the kicker? We really don't have a kicker.
Take the kicker.
It's a 7th round pick. Kicker, doing it. People might hate us, but I'm doing it. We didn't get in. So our biggest areas that we missed on that we need to address from free agency next year, maybe another guard, but we only got 1 guard. The areas I wanted to address, we didn't address. I would say edge, like a freaky edge guy late. A safety, but these are all really pretty secondary needs in terms of we have a lot of edge rushers. We have our 3 top safeties. You have Adoga as your backup tackle, but I'm not a big fan of that. But
Javid Cole said that is the person that killed Fields in that game.
Yeah, I thought it was Indiana safety. I just didn't know if that was the Indiana safety. Okay, so Kyle, now our offense. Let's just go through it real quick. Yeah, I wanted Johnson there pretty bad too, because I heard that he was screwing around with a lot with Fields. So quarterback Zach Wilson. We still
I like safeties that really understand the game. I don't feel like you need to be elite skill set at safety, especially, free safety. You want a guy who's a little bit faster and rangier and stuff, but you can make a nice career out for yourself if you're a safety with decent athleticism, but you just like Jim Leonard, for example.
Give us some grades.
By the way, Jim Leonard is a great defensive coordinator right now too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, give us some grades. So let's just round out the starters of the team. We'd have Zach Wilson right now as quarterback. We'd have Gainwell, Ty Johnson, Josh Adams, Coleman, P. Ryan. One of those guys gets cut, obviously not Gainwell. At receiver, we'd have the top 4 we have right now with Cole, Crowder, Davis, Mims. And then we have Schwartz as the burner and Marlon Williams as a developmental guy, the 5th guy. I think that's a good pick in my opinion. Your starting offensive line, let's just say it is Becton, either Clark or Van Roten at left guard. We want to address that next year, maybe, unless Clark develops. You have why am I blanking on the center's name right now? McGovern. Then you have Wyatt Davis as at right guard, and you have Fant at right tackle. Again, will be addressed going in the future. That's not something that's completely locked down right now. Tight end, we have Herndon, who's a tight end we signed on. I'm forgetting his name right now. Croft, Westco, and developmental guy in Angeline if he makes the team. What other positions am I missing? Am I missing anything on offense? No. And then on defense, we got our front four, which we know about with the Currys and all those guys. At linebacker, the starters are Bolton. Let's just say he's a Will. Sam is Davis, Mosley at Mike. Safety, we have our main three with the backup of probably Farley, who is a special teams guy. And at corner, we have Hall, Newsome, Molden, and then whoever else has backups. But I think our corners have got a lot better. Newsome, Molden, and Guidry as a backup. Bless Austin as a backup like he should be. Bryce Hall, I think that's
Bless Austin might not even make the team, man.
So next year, what are our needs now, Kyle? What do you want in 2020?
We're looking pretty good for next year, man. After this Darnold trade.
Yeah, now we got 2 firsts next year, 2 seconds, 3 sixths.
Well, we got to look in the offensive line more for the draft next year. That's obvious. We got to start looking at a Fant replacement potentially.
Yep.
Yeah,
I would say next year they could like splurge a little bit,
and even center too. Maybe we might want to move on from McGovern too, depending on how he plays this year.
So 2022 Jets. This is assuming everybody works out like they are. What are your top 3 needs going into next year? Our next draft free agency.
Interior offensive line, whether it's center or guard, but particularly guard. I mean, we just took 2 corners pretty early, so I wouldn't say corner. I guess linebacker.
So I think
Davis is also a free agent next year, so we don't even know if we'll have him next year.
So we
don't even know if we'll have Mosley next year. So linebacker for sure.
So what I would say is, so I'm going to go 4. I'm going to cheat. Tackle, guard, because you don't know if Clark works out great, then you just have Fant, who you need to replace, who might not be replaced. But I would say let's say one of those, tackle or guard next year. I'll do 3. I'll be fair. Tackle or guard. I'm going to say edge rusher because Curry's going to be gone, all that stuff. Like if you can get Lawson and another edge guy, like that's Salah's defense. Like that's what he wants. So edge rusher next year.
What do you know? What edge guys are supposed to be scheduled to potentially hit the market next year?
I have no idea. And then I would say linebacker. So linebacker, edge, offensive lineman, maybe tight end, honestly, too. You could look at tight end. Like there's still some suspicions.
Honestly, we got pretty lucky with Lawson hitting free agency. Like edge rushers like that have that type of like upside and burst and skill set. Usually you don't see those guys hitting free agency.
We have our kicker to lead us into the future. Developmental receivers, corners, developmental tight end. All right. I'm a fan of this draft. I think we redeem ourselves. Yeah,
we screwed up at the end with not getting Dax Milne, though.
Yeah, that's our 5th receiver. We make a huge impact.
He's a baller, man. Yeah, but
what do you think? Like Scotty McKnight, right?
Yeah. What do you think the odds are that they're actually going to take him late? The Jets. You have to figure. You'd have to figure just because of the connection with Wilson.
Him or that tackle, Brady. It was like Brady Christensen or whatever. Like maybe the 4th round as a developmental guy. You never know.
Yeah.
Maybe like a Doga who wasn't motivated at USC, but because he's blocking for Darnold now, he's remotivated. The Adogas, the Scotty McKnights of the world. I think it's a little bit overrated.
But listen, Scotty McKnight. I never watched his tape in college, so I don't know if he actually could play. But this kid Milne made a lot of good plays with BYU, and yeah, he's going against inferior corners and stuff. But he would make some nice plays.
Who was that big receiver we got from Clemson who was injured and people said should be like a 2nd-round pick? A couple of years ago. He was on the team when Tosh Boyd was here, right?
Wait, you're talking about I know who you're talking about.
Why am I blanking on his name?
7th round pick that we took?
Yeah, 6th or 7th round pick. Yeah, late Clemson guy.
He was so bad, man. Oh my gosh, what was his name?
Sharon Peak.
He
was the guy who in the Vikings game Darnold threw the slant to him, hit him in the chest, bounced off for an interception.
Dude, that dude couldn't catch a cold, man.
Mm-hmm. Kyle, anything else to wrap up?
No, I'm
appreciate
good, man.
For joining us. We had like 200 plus people here at a time. Now it's to 89 because we're wrapping up. But anything to close out? And
I would like to say this: we had a good amount of super chats. I can't seem to scroll all the way up to the top, but I remember Brian was one. Jared was another. Brian actually did 2, and it was. was it Tariq who had one as well? Was that the other name, Tariq?
I'll shout him out in the next live stream. Maybe we'll
shout out to all those guys, and shout out to everyone who participated in the chat and stuff.
Yeah, appreciate everybody for joining us. Appreciate the interest in more of the film stuff. This is more of the talk show. That's kind of like this kind of like more aids the film. Like this is the secondary thing. If you want to stick around the channel to watch the film breakdowns, I'm sure are people going to be drooling over Gerard Davis and Tyler Croft and Dan Feeney? Maybe not. You don't have to join for that. But if you want to watch 100 plays of freaking Zach Wilson actually broken down instead of seeing YouTube highlights, like I hate YouTube highlights where it's like a guy running wide open and it's a touchdown and they show it like 3 times. But yeah, he was wide open. He caught a touchdown.
But when I first started to think like, okay, Justin Fields is an option for the Jets, I put on some Justin Fields highlights just to get a sense, like, because everyone's telling me, oh, he's like a bigger Kyler Murray. And I kid you not, like more of his highlights were him running. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like whoever made this highlight tape.
So appreciate everybody for joining. And the only other news, Kyle, I think we're going to discuss it in the future, but for right now, thanks Javid as well, sending a good stream. We appreciate you joining back next time. Check out some of the film.
Yeah. Thanks, Javid.
Yeah, he was in commenting a lot, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
Now the only other update is we're either going to be doing a live stream during the second and third round of the draft, or because it's every first Monday of the month, by the way, if you're just your first time here, every first Monday of the month, we do a live stream. We try to stay to that schedule, sometimes not. But the first Monday of the month after the draft is like 2 days later. So we're considering either doing it on Friday during rounds 2 and 3, or just waiting to see who they get rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, and then doing the live stream. So I think we are leaning personally to doing the first Monday of May instead of the second and third round. Kyle, are we going to agree to that?
Yep, definitely.
Okay. So the first Monday of May, we'll be back a couple days after the draft, recapping everything. I'll be on Twitter talking about it. I might jump on some streams and stuff like that to talk about some of the picks right after. I appreciate everybody for joining.
That would be Monday, May 3rd.
Yes, Monday, May 3rd. And I'm still just a quick thing too. Jared, everybody in the chat, Javid, coming up too, just to preview that. Marcus Coleman, former NFL DB who played for 11 years with the Jets, is going to be doing a breakdown of Corey Davis with me. He's going to be on for Joyner or Cole, probably Joyner after the draft. All the secondary guys, he's going to be here. But before the draft, I'm getting out, I know, at least 2 episodes of Davis, Rankins, maybe Cole, maybe not Cole. And then definitely 30 plays of Wilson, 30 plays of Fields. We'll do the draft. I'll hit on all those guys. I'll hit on the rest of the free agents. So there's a shit ton of stuff coming here.
Earlier in the show, you said 30 plays of Lawrence and not Fields. And I was like, was that a mistake when you said that? No. I was wondering, like, because like I was wondering, is Joe thinking that it's a possibility the Jags will take Wilson? That was my thinking when you said that.
Yeah. So I appreciate everybody for joining, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'll see you literally in 2 days.